Okay, we're live. Hi. Thank you for coming by. My name's Tori Christman, and on the internet, I'm Tori Magoo 44 in honor of my dad. And I was in Scientology for 30 years, and I escaped out in 2000. They chased me across the country, and the Tampa police got me out of the Tampa airport. And tonight, I've been kind of speaking out about Scientology and educating people about it for a long time. So my guest tonight is an amazing person in my mind, and I think in a lot of people's minds. His name is Gary Jackson Morehead, and he was the chief security guard at the international base, which was like a top secret base for most of us public. I was a public. He was in the Sea Org. And in the Sea Org from 1982 to 96, he was the security guard up at the top secret base. So welcome, Gary.
Well, hello, Tori. My gosh,
Th- Thank
here
you
we
for
are.
coming on. It's really wonderful to have you on us.
Well, thanks. And just as entertainingly wonderful to be present with the Princess Tori.
Well, tell us, first of all, I always ask people this, how did you join Scientology? How did that happen?
Through my parents, I was just a little still kicking in diapers. Started down
And
at
they were in.
the Tustin Org down in Orange County. If anybody knows
Oh,
that, my first earlier memories was the koi pond down there. But yeah, down there at the Tustin Org and Orange County, and then eventually Sea Org recruiters do what they do is they go around fishing in the local orgs for new recruits. And my mom was a single mom at the time and snatched us up in 1979. Joined in May 1st, 1979.
both of you.
Uh, yeah, my sisters were in the middle of their soccer leagues. I don't know why. We are all were sports fanatics. I played soccer and baseball. They played soccer and they were still mid their season. Um, I think I was too, but I don't know. My mom always attached me to her hip, so wherever she
Yeah.
went, I went, and they stayed to complete their season. And my oldest sister, she ended up joining the Sea Org. She worked Seymour Pack and then SMY and then left. And my youngest sister, um, she may have been in a little bit, but she remained independent and stayed out.
Good for them.
But yeah, they're both still Scientologists to this day.
Oh, they are?
Yeah, I don't. I'm just me.
Wow. So you're
Yeah,
the only person that got out. Your mother is still in?
my mom's. Yeah, she's not in the Sea Org, but they're still under the grip of the church. Still
I wonder if
loyal,
I know your mom.
mentally loyal. She was for the longest time from '79 till whenever they got away with the CEO. You remember the CEO over there? Building attached where the pavilion's at now. The building that was there was a uh, children's estate organization CEO.
You mean the complex?
No, over at the manor.
Oh, at the
CC,
manor. Yeah, sure.
where the pavilion is now.
Oh, yeah.
There was a building there that was sat along Berendo. Is that Berendo? I think is Berendo.
I think it
Um,
is.
and its opening faced Berendo, and its backside. It was like a U-shaped building, so there was a courtyard in between each wing, so to speak, the U-shaped wing, and then the backside of it um, had a skyway bridge over a ravine between the manor and that building, and it connected the two buildings. So eventually, the kids were gotten rid of, and the building was gotten rid of, and they built the
Oh,
pavilion, which is there now.
the pavilion.
So,
Yeah,
and my
that's right.
mom
I
was
worked at,
yeah, my mom was a receptionist there for years, so she was really well known amongst all the Sea Org parents at the time because
she
they
was a
were
receptionist at the pavilion or the
no
manor?
at the CEO of the Child Estates organization,
Ah,
and by default she was always everyone's first point of contact every day, or the contact when they call in saying they're coming or not coming to pick up their kids.
wow.
So yeah, she was like the central hub, as any receptionist would be. So she was pretty well known amongst that community.
Sure. And now she's still a Scientologist, but
Yeah.
not in the Sea
No,
Org.
she physically, she's aged out. She's somewhere in Southern California. I have no idea where she's at.
You haven't talked to her? She's not talking to you?
Nope.
Damn. That's how my ex-husband is. He won't talk to me for
Yeah,
25 years.
it's that
It's so
strange
weird.
compulsion. It just doesn't, no communication attached to under the guise or umbrella or recognition of a religion, and you call yourself a religion, yet you don't communicate with your own family. That's the
I
first
know.
sign of that's the first sign of people that yeah, you're batshit bullshit. So, uh, but for some reason, it's just the cycle and the grip of cults.
But
People,
even ex-Scientologists, like I made one post after Aaron was found guilty on Nora's side,
yeah,
and Jenna disconnected from them.
yeah, it's this whole judgmental. I don't get it. They fell off the train of being here helping people long ago,
Yeah.
of genuine help. That's you know I'm not going to go down that path because people are hungry
No,
for
I hear
everyone's
you. I'm
opinion.
not either. I'm
I,
not
I'm not
either.
scared
It's
of it. I
just
don't give a crap, but people are hungry for one's expressed opinion. I'm not going to give it. You don't deserve it.
I don't. I'm not
And
asking you to. I
no,
just
no, I'm
wanted
not.
to
No,
tell
no,
you
the
that.
you wasn't directed to you, Tori. Please, I'm
Okay.
so sorry that I gave you that impression. No, 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 sweetheart.
Okay. Okay.
You
Good.
don't. It's the people hungry for it. Um,
And I know
and
that they're out there.
they lost. There's this one dude on YouTube, Floppa. I don't know if you know much of, but people listening, there's this Australian guy that gets ragged all the time, and they found his name's Floppa. You lost the plot. You lost your plot. Anyway, so here we are. So yeah, I
So
forget the source of your last question, but here I am.
you had to have observed a lot of stuff in all those years up at Int. Can
Yeah,
you kind of tell us a little bit? I mean, I honestly I only found out about it. And this is just so the people know how top secret it is for the public. None of us knew where it was. It was called Gold or
yeah,
Int or Over the Rainbow, but none of us knew where it was. And
yeah,
one night, the head of Able, and I forget the guy's name, but he said, "Look, we need to go talk to a family that's going to hopefully get their son in Narconon." I said, "Okay." So it's nighttime and we're driving along, and all of a sudden we're going down this really dark road.
yeah,
There's no like lights or anything. And, remember, I'm in the dark. I have no idea where this Golden Era Studios or Int or anything is. And I know a lot of the people that work there, but
yeah,
they won't tell me where it is. And I don't ask.
yeah,
It's just sort of like, don't ask, don't tell. So all of a sudden we're driving along and there's this huge white, bright lights. Welcome to Golden Era Studios. And I look at the guy, and I know you know this guy. I just can't remember his name, but I go, "What the hell is this?" And he goes, "Okay, here's the deal. First of all, you didn't see that. Second of all, and that's Scientology, right? You keep your head in the sand, don't ask, don't
yeah,
tell.
yeah.
But second
Don't
of
ask, you
all,
better not tell.
yeah, right.
Yeah,
But
that's what it
second,
was more like.
yeah, true, because you'd end up in ethics.
Yep.
But he said you didn't see that, and then he said, second of all, um, this was a big flap out here. Now you can tell me if this is true or not, but this is what he told me. He said, we built Golden Era Studios and it was all top secret. Nobody knew what it was. And then we started getting rumors from the town that they were really concerned, like what's going on out there. So we created an open Golden Era Studios. I mean, the studios were already there, but we put a big welcome, everyone's welcome, and we do tours here now for anyone who wants a tour. And I know from being at the Free Winds, I got all the taxi cab drivers to get on the Free Winds, and they did a whole tour with them, but you never saw the auditing rooms or counseling rooms or anything. You just saw public stuff like you would normally see on a ship.
I'm trying to take a sip of my tea without burning my lips. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
That was wrong.
it's
I
hot.
was listening, but go ahead. You got my mind back there. So at nighttime and
Yeah.
all this and who that could have
So
been.
anyway, then I knew where it was, but I
Right.
still didn't tell anybody.
Did
But
they have
I
you
knew.
sign an agreement, a
No,
non-disclosure? Okay.
no.
Well, first of all, that you say you saw a sign that said Golden Era Studios.
It was huge. It wasn't like
Well,
a sign. It was like a big white. I think it's still up there. It's
no,
bright light.
there was never any white sign, but there was a sign out front. There was
It's
no
not a white
signage.
sign. It's in lights.
Yeah, it's well, that would have been the Star of California sign that was lit up on one side of the. It all depends. It's our memories are gonna inform us otherwise. But what I can tell you, do you remember what year that was that you traveled through there?
I don't exactly, but it will probably
Late
would have
80s, early
been.
90s.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there was two signs. One that said Golden Era Studios, and the other one, which it says now, is Golden Era Productions. And the Golden Era Studios had an electronic display sign that stated about our tours every Sunday.
Right.
All are welcome.
Yeah.
There's no
That was it.
sign that says such now. So yeah, this would have been
Ah.
the early 90s.
So they
That's when
took it off.
yeah, they took it off. They no longer promote the tours and all that, but
Oh.
they don't
I
even have
thought
the
they
staff.
still did. I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
no.
Thank you.
No, they still they hand select tours to keep appearances up.
Right.
But no, what you would have seen, and you say you spoke to somebody, you
No, no,
stopped
no.
and
I
spoke,
was
or somebody
with.
told you?
No, 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 no.
Oh,
I
you
didn't
were with
stop to
somebody.
speak to anyone. I was with the guy that ran Abel.
Okay.
Remember Abel?
Yeah. I almost
And
want to
so
say,
he was
uh,
one of the, I don't know if he ran it, but he was like one of the top guys there.
sure.
So
Okay, well, so you didn't stop and speak with anybody. You just drove by,
no,
saw
no,
the
no. We
sign,
were
and
just
was
drove.
enamored
Yeah,
with
we were
wow.
on
Yeah,
our way to
yeah. You were
talk to
in
this
your way to
family.
Hemet, San Jacinto, and like you had left LA, were on your way to your destination, as opposed to having left your destination on your way back to LA. You were
No,
on
we
your
were on
way.
our way to talk
Okay,
to the family.
okay. So that I'm just getting myself oriented as to what you would have seen and how this being presented with this at night. You wouldn't have seen much. You wouldn't have seen
Nothing.
how big it was, any
Nothing.
outline of any buildings, just anything lit up. So the sign
Yeah.
you saw is the sign you saw. There never was any big grandeur sign, but there was a lit up, made up, really nicely made up sign that said Golden Era Studios, had the Golden Era emblem with the starburst on it, with the bridge leading up to it, and outlined in gold and goldenrod lettering. And then it eventually was changed to Golden Era Productions from Golden Era Studios. Prior to that, there was never any signage out front.
Right.
And our shore story was we are the audiovisual production unit for the Church of Scientology International, and that's all that we did. No
That's
int management, no nothing. Any mention of the upper echelons and the executive structure of Scientology was taboo, but it was acceptable that we spoke that that's what we did. Any inquiring non-Scientologists, we were openly spoke about it, whereas you'd have your random visiting Scientologists who tripped across a place, such as yourself, who would pull up. We would never return any confirmation of what they were seeing in the conversation, but they were you couldn't hide what they were looking at, and then we would cut to the chase of you need to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And the reason we gave them was if we announced it publicly, we would be distracted by the constant visitors.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's an acceptable truth, and to keep the traffic low. So anybody that does trip across it, it's not a bad thing, but we do ask that you keep it to yourself and don't speak of it to others. And to confirm that, you need to sign this NDA.
Right.
So we had a stack of those in a blank folder blanks of those in our, highway facing security booths, and they would get signed and they'd be on their way.
Okay, and
And
they
then
oh, sorry, go on.
no, I was going to say, and then eventually, because I started, we're kind of pouring salt on a wound by forcing people under the, security, not under the security, under the Scientology ethics guidelines, pressuring people that they must sign this. It was kind of ridiculous. And then it didn't make any sense to me, and I thought it was wrong. We're kind of just amplifying the problem rather than when they show up, yep, hey, how you doing? Bye now. Let them go about their way.
Right.
And in a discussion I had with Shelley Miscavige once, I threw that out there. It's like, it just seems ridiculous. She goes, we're having people sign NDAs. I said, yes, sir. She goes, that's just ridiculous. Stop doing that. So anyways, there was a time in which we stopped doing that, and we didn't really give two craps, at least up until I left, as I was running security, because I ran security. I was the security chief of that base for the last 7 years that I was there, and in security. I was in security from 1982 to 96.
That's kind of amazing. So, your story is a bit, it sounds like Jesse Prince's, where he kind of got in and ended up helping run the church.
I look at it as Scientology is kind of a meeting place of very knowledgeable and competent people. I'm not trying to toot my own whistle, but everybody that works there were in amazement about how good these people are, how good their heart and souls are. And then, at the Int Base, they typically that's the cream off the top of Scientology organizations.
Right.
People didn't have much of an ethics history, and were very productive and obviously competent in what they do or the tasks that they were given. And they were pulled up there, taken from the lower orgs.
Right.
Always leaving the lower orgs, with the crumbs, but they still pulled those from society. It was just this own vicious, unspoken cycle of recruitment. But Jesse was very talented at the task he was given. Even when he left RTC, was in an audio division of Gold. He excelled at all the audio work that he did. He became an audio engineer and a mixer, and
wow.
He was very talented at that. It's just Jesse had a backbone,
yeah.
And it wasn't liked. And not only did Jesse stick up for himself, but he stuck up for a lot of other people that were there, and that was also part of the problem with Jesse. Is he would stand the ground for other people and his wife at the time. So, people like that become a problem to the church. So the church being basically, you fell in disfavor with David Miscavige. And what I mean by the church is my limited involvement. Well, not my limited involvement. My, I never been to Australia. I don't know what it's like in the UK. I don't know like in Canada orgs. All I can speak of is my Sea Org experiences from the Int Base and some in Los Angeles in Florida. But so from my little corner neck of the woods, the Sea Org, in my perspective, I started my YouTube channel with a purpose to help fill the gaps with people with a behind the scenes view, because that's basically what I was. I was running amongst the threads of what made up the Int Base, if that makes sense.
Right.
And those threads made up a beautiful blanket that was regarded and looked upon highly, and people enjoyed it and they loved it. But there was deep secrets, and those deep secrets is what I was involved in. Not all the deep secrets, but way more than your average staff member would ever couldn't even imagine. And the stuff that I was asked to do, and I performed, and I did, I did to the best of my ability at the time, and you're forced to excel at it as a survival drive. Because if you don't do the tasks that you're assigned, you're not going to be on that task for very long.
No.
And you're also going to, you do not just get disciplined or removed, you get disciplined. Right. And your life is, so there's a different kind of approach when you have that threat of survival, taking away survival from your freedom of choice. You tend to do a lot of, you know, you don't paint a wall once to make it look better. You paint it 10 times with the best oil and do whatever it can to get that oil and put it on there. And you spend all the time necessary to make it perfect before the set of eyes that you know eventually going to come inspect it, tell you whether it's okay or not, does come and inspect it. And then they do say it's okay. In fact, you did such a good job. They liked it. They throw you an
Oh, you
extra
can do
sandwich.
3 more.
Yeah, and then off you go. So you become the guy on painting the
Right.
wall because you're the only one that could do it. So that would just be a simple analogy.
That's a good analogy, though. It really is. Because that's sort
Yeah,
of what happened to me with helping, quote unquote, helping OSA.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. And again, that's what I was saying earlier. In that they took advantage of, you know, what we gained from that drive, that survival instinct drive. You know, in one way or the other, you did it as a public. That's a different, as far as I'm concerned. I can't speak on your behalf, but my immediate mind tells me that's nothing compared to the pressure that we were put under. But eventually I discovered, especially when Leah came out, um, the discovery of how much the shit that started up here rolled downhill, was forced upon all the way down to the public. I was shocked
right.
that, you know, Dave's waves rolled down that far. But anyways, yeah, it was a toxic environment eventually, and that's why we are here today. We are at our own freedom of choice, and we left that nut house. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
and I
my
don't know if go
beginning
ahead.
of the Office of Special Affairs and top secret stuff started when we moved from LA to Clearwater. And
Okay,
at the time, they'd already handled Gabe Gazaris, which I'm sure you know about.
yeah, I wasn't there for that, but yeah,
But anyway, anybody can Google it. He was the mayor of Clearwater, and Scientology really did a number on him. So
see
then
here,
the next guy was Richard Tenney, who was the city commissioner, and he was going to try to become the mayor. And he had a whole program, Save Sparkling Clearwater, Stamp Out Scientology. And they were all protesting, and cars honk out Scientology. And I mean, it was unbelievable. And Milt Wolf called me into his office,
good old
and I
Milt
had a
Wolf.
brand new baby. And he said, "You need to handle this." And I said, "Me? Let the Sea Org handle it." And he said, "We can't. This is all top secret, but we came here on a lie. And this guy's whole program is don't trust Scientology, they're liars." And he said, "We did lie. We came here on a false pretense. So you need to handle it." And I did. And that's what moved me from nothing to call Tori. She can handle it. And we moved back to LA, and it was like he did get voted out of office, and it was a big deal.
Well,
So
I internally, I was not up to date, nor was I aware of much of any of that going on. Um, at that time period, what I was aware of, and I do know, I believe you were part of the Lisa McPherson effort and trust
right.
on
But that was
the other
after I
side of the coin.
escaped
Yeah,
out.
after you
After
left.
right.
But see, when that was going on, that was in 96 or 95, right? 95, 96.
2000 for me. I think that you're right. They were going in 96, but I
Oh,
escaped out in July
oh, okay.
2000.
So you were still part of the inner folds back in
Yeah.
95, 96. Because when the Lisa McPherson, there was a number of things going on, but I was being sec checked by Marty Rathbun at the time because that's when I was routing out. Um, and he was torn between having to deal with me. Not, you know, I'm not trying to make myself. I just remember that he was under orders to deal with me, and eventually, um, he had to hand off my sec checking over to one of his subordinates, and then he ended up going to Flag to deal with the PR fallout in dealings with the Lisa McPherson case.
Right.
Um, and then eventually he came back and picked me up, and till I was completed with him. But yeah, these external flaps, as you and I came to know them, external flaps, there was either an internal flap or an external flap. Some external flaps created internal flaps. Never would an internal flap become an external flap until the internet came along, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
um, And the internet is a godsend. It's that freedom of open communication that is in milliseconds communicated worldwide. So, um, but anyways, I don't know where we started, Tori. I'm just kind of going down memory lane. What my
It's
brain is
okay.
popping out right
It's all
now.
right. I was telling you about me and Clearwater, and then
Yeah,
we went from there. Yeah,
yeah. We kind of played in the same corner in the sandbox, the OSA corner.
yeah.
Um, all of us Scientologists were in the same sandbox. It's just we were in different corners or quadrants or
And that is one thing
divisions.
I learned from having. I started having parties after I escaped out because I lost all my friends.
Hmm.
And I think it started with 4 people and ended up with 25, 30 people. People were
Yeah,
flying in to
yeah,
meet people.
yeah. Of
But
course, we all
that,
wanted to reconnect with our friends again.
right. But
Go
that's
ahead.
where I realized it was truly a totalitarian organization where the right hand for everybody didn't know what the left hand was doing. So
Well,
they'd come in, it was a potluck, so they'd bring their food, here's what I brought. And then they'd find whoever they wanted to ask, and they'd say, okay, I was in this room, you were in that room, what were you doing?
right.
That kind of thing.
And you see, that's what I guess my mind's reminding me now. What my original point was, my stories that I tell and my input into this community is a handshake with what it was like on the day to day, the running around. Like Mark and Claire were in their fixed locations. Claire was in RTC, Mark was in audio. Mark had more getting around the base. Claire was more at the RTC buildings down to Qual and back. She rarely went into the buildings that I went into daily and the
Wow.
staff that I saw daily. So up until I left, there was almost 900 staff there, and I knew every single one of them on a first name personal basis. Those were my people. Those are those that I served. That's the way I looked at it. So some a lot more than others, but everybody knew me and knew me really well by Sea Org standards. Um, and so I like to deliver, the little isms, the this is a that, the
Right.
um, you know, running around shaking doors, trying to test the security system, the building of the security system, what it was like doing my inspections, going in and seeing whoever, talking to the cook, seeing how seeing how the menus were made, watching people, chasing people, uh, the phone system, the behind the scenes, the computer room, incom, all the audio divisions, the music division, the bands, the drum sets, the instruments, the speakers,
Wow,
the
you were
cars,
everywhere.
motor pool, every and all the cars, all the equipment, the grounds department, all the staff in there, the landlord office, the architects, where the trees were bought from, the external contractors that came and worked for us,
Right.
weather events, my time in the fire department, you know, quite the my job was not in a fixed position. It was my job to go around and constantly check the hum of the place and
And
do
did
it
you
daily,
report back to David Miscavige or not?
all the time. I mean, I got daily phone calls from him if anybody blew. That was always the first call. I had to be sitting at a phone in the main booth. This wasn't every day from 82 to 96, but it was from at least the last 4 years that I was there,
Right.
3 to 4 years that he would call when he was on the base and he would ask me. It wasn't even an introduction. I just knew it was coming. I could see it. It was his number. Hello, sir. Anybody below? Nope. Or if anybody did, he would already know about it because I had to report the moment that I discovered it. So it would have been a big fucking turmoil, excuse my French, if at that time I told him that somebody had blown and he hadn't known about it. I would get yelled at for not having told him when it happened. So why are you calling me now anyways?
And this is
uh
one of the questions. Now, wait. This is a question. JB808, he does my thumbnails for my videos. And
okay,
he has a question.
can you define
Can
and
you?
explain blow drills?
Yeah.
Okay, this is something I'm not proud of, but I'm the one that eventually coined the phrase blow drill
Oh,
because um over the years, and this is based off of one of the green and white policies. I forget the title of it now, but I was, there was a green and white Hubbard HCOPL that was titled, so I forget what it was, but the context of the policy was some actions become so routine that the actions themselves become the standard, and it therefore becomes the policy.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's just the way in which you tie a shoe and end up with a bow tie for lacing up your shoes. It's so successful, so many people use it. It's not even tried to, and
It's just tie your shoes.
Yeah, some people do the process differently, but they end up with the same result. So, on that note, with the 300 plus people that I last counted, I think it was closer to 350. Tried to do the math once with Joe Tobin and Tom Tobin and Joe Childs at the St. Pete's Times. The best I can come up with 350, north of 350 people that I hunted down and brought back. I documented those procedures.
Yeah.
The successful actions, because I tell you, it would be almost somebody would take off. We had no idea where they were, but because of the tools that I had developed and all that tools, whatever, the process and procedures and the actions that I took and developed, resulted in short chase down times, all the way to the point that I did it so well. This one person, literally the time it took to drive from the base to LA, I had figured out that that's where they were headed, headed to LAX. I got there just as they were pulling up in a taxi. Like literally, right. I didn't even know it was a taxi in front of me, but I knew. But we pulled up, stopped, looked up, and they were just getting out of the taxi. I'm like, holy shit, that was down to the second. Now, to me, that was a successful win, because that meant that I didn't have to stay up day and night miserably. I'd already stayed up all night that one time, but it was so misery filled trying to chase down and find people, because the demand and pressure was there all the time. So right. Anyways, I documented all this. I submitted it for quote unquote approval. I titled it the blow drill. And it became stated as a blow drill every time somebody took off thereafter. So, when I'd call and make the phone call saying that blah, blah is blown, I would say that I'm activating the blow drill. And that became just the common language. So.
And I have the same thing for escape, because everybody, when I left, was saying, I blew. Yeah. And I'm a sec checker. So I know that in Scientology's mind, blowing equals you have overts or bad deeds. Yeah. That's why you left. So I changed it from blow to I escaped out. And now everybody uses that. But I was the first person that started that.
Yeah. And on my end, why it was titled blow drill, because I had to develop all these drills from the the 1990 flood. I had to generate and create and document and execute and do all these standardized drills from fire, flood, earthquake, and security drills. So from those four things, and then I had to drill everybody on what to do when there's a fire, what to do when there's an earthquake, what to do when there's a flood. And each one of those drills required an assignment to everybody, a secondary assignment outside of the normal day-to-day tasks. So when the alarm would be sounded in each one of those events, people would respond and do their assigned tasks based off the drills that I established, wrote out, and drilled them on and made them do, they ended up doing to mitigate an emergency, basically, in those four things. And then the eventual security drill, that was also, there was a security drill, but then there was the blow drill, and it was never publicized as that. But the screwed up thing is the more people I brought into doing this blow drill were, there was these two individuals, John Stumpke and Gary Conley. They liked the recognition of, like, when I would assign them, just as an example, whether I did or didn't specifically, but if they were assigned the task as part of the drill to call the local motels and hotels, and 2 of the 3 times that they were given, the Stumpke was the one that ended up finding them. That would get highlighted, and all the attention would go on him as though he was a successor of the blow drill, yet I was managing it. And there was this internal bickering over a very terrible task at hand. So
Right.
it became this pissing contest, and then the very definition of security would be defeated because people became aware of my tactics. And Stumpke is an example. Now that he knows the ins and outs and what I did to successfully find people, all they had to do is avoid those things when they leave, and people talk amongst themselves, or they just hear about it and keep it in their mind to button up all their personal information, their banking information, or
Oh, yeah.
do a cash only departure. So they'd save up their cash, and I couldn't defeat that. You can't find somebody who's running around on money. But they take the plates off their cars or whatever. So
But
it
that's a good
eventually,
thing to know, because some people may be watching this video, and that's a good thing to tell them. Save up
well,
your
yeah,
cash.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, when I took off, the only money that I had like I think it was like $2.26, but it was mostly in change.
Wow.
It was definitely below $3. It was more than two. Anyways,
Wow.
because I knew I was going to be running in the process of departing, I put it in my sock and then wore my shoes. So I didn't want to have it in my pocket or in a bag, and I didn't even have a bag because I couldn't run with a bag. But when I went running, I didn't want it to jingle and give my location away. So I put it in my sock and then wore my shoe, and it just all compressed against my foot, and I get no jingle when I was running. So
Wow.
yeah. So and eventually, first thing I bought was a pint of ice cold chocolate milk and sat on this bus bench along Florida Avenue and watched the sunrise. And it's those
Oh.
simple things. That was just one of the few attempts to go see my wife. But I hope that
Did you
answers that
finally
gentleman's
get back
question.
to her? Did you finally get back to her?
That's a whole separate tragic
Okay.
story, Tori.
Okay.
I mean, I know of her. I mean, I'm not. No, we haven't talked
Okay.
since since we left.
So she's still in.
No. She's
Yeah.
left. She just has her
Okay.
own family.
Oh,
We're not together through anything brought about between us. It was wholeheartedly brought about because of the church. So
I got you.
that's what I'll say about that.
That's what Jesse said, told me, because I was really sad that my husband did stay in and I
Yeah,
left. And I said, I really wish he'd left with me.
yeah,
And Jesse told me, he said, Tori, 80% of the people that leave together are divorced.
yeah,
And I said, why? And he said, because the only thing they had really together was Scientology.
and yeah. So
And that
I don't
makes
know.
sense.
That's a tricky thing to talk about, Tori. But
Oh,
yeah.
no, no, that's okay. Let's leave it be.
Oh,
Leave it
it's
be.
not. It's not that I'm unwilling to. It's just that opens up a whole nother storyline can of worms.
I hear you. That's
Which
part two. We'll do that another time.
okay. I don't know. I haven't been keeping track of anything. I'm not one to get into the comments and all that. Let it dictate our conversation. So
Right.
ignore my efforts. I got to say, just how we started off talking. Some people get way too invested in letting the commentary dictate the backbone of what they're here for. So
Right.
um
I'd rather just talk to you and hear what you have to say. But
yeah,
there
I
are,
mean,
I
I
have
want to
a,
answer questions. I will
yeah,
stay focused on questions.
yeah.
So
So
you bring up
one
what you want to
is,
bring up.
um, Peter Anderson says, I thought Janice Gillum Grady was Jackson's guardian at one
Yeah, she
point.
was. She and Paul, they were my guardians at the Int Base.
Oh.
And so yeah, I mean, I called Janice mom. She basically was my mom. And I
Oh.
was her first son, her first child.
That's very sweet. Are
Yeah,
you going to
yeah,
go to her birthday thing?
yeah,
Good.
yeah. My
Yeah,
dad conveniently lives 5 minutes away, so
oh,
um, that
perfect.
was.
Perfect.
I don't know how the stars aligned from that, but 5 minutes one way is uh, the two people that meant the most to me in the Sea Org. So
Yeah.
Janice and her sister,
Oh,
and they know it,
perfect.
and my dad knows it, and my dad knows them very well and knows that they were they were the ones that filled my dad's shoes.
Right.
So, anyways, yeah.
All right. So here's another question from JB808. Here you go. Oh, wait. What did I do? What made you finally leave Scientology, and how long before you officially left did you check out?
Well, I left the Sea Org and Scientology at the same time, and that was back in '97. I didn't publicly announce my departure from Scientology. I kept up the facade.
Right.
And idea that I was going to be, would be doing stuff, but I'll be doing under my terms. But I didn't publicly announce it until the St. Pete's Times, and I think that was at 2009, 2006, 2009 when those articles came out. And that was my public departure. My mental departure was literally the day literally the day I decided to no longer be at the Int Base. So that truly would have been May of '96, and I spent another year at the Int Base routing out.
Wow.
But they couldn't. I could not be sold on. There's nothing in hell, no matter what they could do. I just use their own teachings against me, that against them. In that, an example being, buy your courses, buy this, buy that, and it's like, I don't have the money. We'll take a loan, but then I go in debt, and then I violate the very teachings and writings that I'm buying.
Right.
The very things that you're telling me to buy are going to tell me I shouldn't have done it. So why do it in the first place?
Such a good point.
Yeah, it was freaking crazy. And I, deep down, I would never say it out loud, but there was no way in hell I was going to be sitting back in a course room or under, I just said what I felt was necessary to keep the dogs not biting. They'd be barking, but they wouldn't bite. And that was RTC all the way. They were always on my back. After I left, I had to go in and see them and all this horse shit. I'm sorry if I use too much Sea Org.
Okay.
Now,
if you say anything that I don't think people know, I'll ask you.
No, I'm talking about my foul language.
Oh, I use that all the time.
Okay.
So I've cleaned it up because YouTube has gotten stricter on it.
Well, I guess, this is your space, Tori. So I don't want to,
Yeah, you can only say, you can say a lot of things, but the F word, I think you can't say until you've been on for 20 minutes.
Yeah. Okay. There's, the initial start. Okay. Anyways, just respectfully apologize.
Thank you. Now, no problem. All right. Now, do you know Dylan on the line? Do you know who that is?
My brother Dylan. I always love Dylan.
Yeah. So Dylan, he earlier said you didn't catch me. So that was his first thing that he said. But you were going on, so I didn't want to.
Dylan, I watched you though, did I not?
And he said, "Love and support Jackson. Always love to see Tori." Good, thank you.
Yeah, that's another lost love story, but that's for him to talk about.
I know he's a great guy.
Cool cat. I got to tell you, he's another one at the church.
I agree.
Completely exploited the talents. So go ahead with your next one, ma'am.
Okay, the next one is from Amy, and it says, "What is Jackson's opinion of the speed runs?" You've seen the Scientology speed runs?
I don't. I've heard of it because of the media exposure. Again, this is one of these fields. I got to tell you, if I was on staff still, I'd be freaking the fuck out. It's not doing anybody any good. This is my opinion, because I speak the opinion as though from the inside. This literally makes one feel, from a Sea Org and Scientology, more of a Sea Org, because these are Sea Org locations that this is happening at. This isn't like a public meeting place.
No,
the public Scientologists are. These are where dedicated staff have dedicated their soul's loyalty to the future of Scientology. So they're of a different mindset. When these people are doing what they're doing, it is freaking them out, not only personally, but also the amount of trouble they're going to get in, because they ended up getting in the building. Right. And so there's resulting effects. I don't agree with it. It's not right. It's entertaining. It's not entertaining. Nobody in the outside world will understand this. They're solely going to see it as today's social media standard, how fun and harmless it is. They'll never understand the actual harm that it's doing to these poor folks on the inside. It's one thing to stand at the door and yell at them, which I think is also harmful in solidifying to their religious loyalty to the Scientology.
Yeah.
But there's nothing we can do to stop it. I mean, Scientology is going to do. They're going to use a strong arm of their bank accounts, and they're going to pursue this to the end. They will get somebody. They will do what's called put a head on a pike, and that is, I don't know if the best recent real life example of that, not real life, but the best recent example of that is Games of Thrones. You see them back in the day, they utilized the head on a pike tool
Okay.
as justice.
I never watched Games of
Oh,
Thrones.
well, they clearly show it, and it was a repercussion, a feared repercussion of one's actions. So they will put a head on a pike. They will hunt somebody down. They'll turn them inside out. You'll discover that they were a criminal with psychiatric connections and drug driven or whatever. They'll put their own spin on it, but nonetheless, they don't know. They don't care how much money they have to spend. They will find that person and they will get him publicly put on display, and this whole thing will come and go.
I agree with you 100%. I made a video about it about 2 weeks ago when it first started, and I said,
I'm sorry that it even started. I mean,
yeah, me too. And I said my concern is that somebody's going to get hurt. Number one.
Yeah.
Number two, that the staff are going to get hurt because you and I know somebody's going to have the head on a pike.
Yeah.
And whether they're sent to the RPF or whatever happens to them, it's not going to be good.
It's not going to be good. But more importantly, Tori, I think you and I mutually can agree that it just solidifies them mentally even further.
Right.
That the outside world is big evil.
People yell into their things. I think that only helps OSA. I used to be a handler, and people would be yelling at me, and
it not only helps OSA, but it helps once OSA's delivered the internal communication on what the outside world is doing to Scientology, such as all these speed runs, or there's this protests, or now people, the psychotics coming to our doorsteps to yell at us for how successful we are. You know, that for the psychs to be yelling as much as they are just kind of proves the success of Scientology. You know, that old little datum. Right. The only reason that psychs are screaming and hollering is because of the success of Scientology. That's the spin they would put on it, and that would solidify them, even to stick around, and continue on longer. Scientologists, Sea Org members in particular, are socially inept. They do not have the modern day social skills that even grandparents, today's modern grandparents, we comically look upon as they're not social. They don't have much social talent. They don't know how to use a computer. Those people are 1,000 times more educated on today's social world than your Sea Org members will ever be. Yeah. And that's done by design, by the way. It's done with a purpose, because it's one other information line that keeps them at bay, keeps them in check, because they don't know what you don't know. You don't know. And the knowledge is power. So when you get knowledge about something, and like right now, some people have never used a shovel. You put a shovel in their hand, they wouldn't know what to do with it. You give them some knowledge, now they know what to do with it. Knowledge is power. Yeah. So it's that simple. So without that knowledge, there's nothing you can do once you find it landed in your hands or in your mind. It's like, oh, okay, I don't want to be here anymore. But then when you leave, what do? Now I'm no longer there. I'm here, where I want to be, but I don't know what to do with where I want to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So us being a voice for those folks on the outside is what is, of my personal opinion, of great value. I can only contribute what I know I can contribute. I don't sauce up my conveyance of my story. I can only tell you what I saw and what I involved myself with. I can't tell you what I assume. Now, I do have an educated opinion about stuff or an educated input about things,
Right.
but that is still luck of the draw. That's not fact.
Right.
But the one fact that I think you and I can agree on, Tori, in this right now is an educated guess, but the church does not change much of anything, and they are predictably remain the same. They
I know.
may they may change things up, but it all defaults back to the same thing. So again, I get back to this the value of sticking to what you know to be fact. I can't speak on behalf of others. I don't want to take a story and convey it from what I heard of someone else. Um, like what I did earlier was with Jesse. What I told you about Jesse is what I saw about Jesse,
Right.
and what I was aware of Jesse because I was there.
Right.
Not because I was there in the sandbox in a different corner or a different um, section of that sandbox. Just because I'm in the sandbox, I can't speak about all of Scientology being
No.
and Scientology being the entire sandbox because I wasn't there,
Right.
um, and I didn't see it.
That's
So
fair.
um, I just hold a hard line on that for myself because I don't think I'm doing anybody any good of providing an answer to a question or the contents or context of what it was what life was like on the inside if I change anything different than what I know it to have been and
True.
what I saw.
Very true.
I just think that's important to you can't traumatize the trauma. You don't deliver trauma to the traumatized. Maybe my story is a bit traumatizing, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
And
It's
when you
what
bring
happened.
sunshine to it, it typically helps. So yeah, some things are painful to hear, but it's not the intent to create pain and walk away and laugh at it. It's to provide someone with the ability to sort their own understandings out. And I've had success with that. I've had people get back to me and for helping fill in the gaps.
Yeah, it
Um,
definitely helps. I I don't know if you've watched any of my live videos, but Friday night, which is graduation at AO, we just sit underneath that big Scientology sign. And that started when they had all those flower pots and they were
right,
ruining the sidewalk. And one of my friends is Audit LA, who's in a wheelchair. And so I started talking to the public and just putting a chair there and talking to the public. And now we've gotten to know a lot of the public and their dogs. But
yeah, that's really
if
cool.
people look up, you can see Sea Org guys that you think, okay, they're going to try to nail these guys. They're younger, they're fit, and they look up at the Scientology sign, and I always say to them, "Don't get into this. It's it's not good." And they always look at me like, "Who are
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
Why would we listen to you?" I'm like an older person, and I say I was in it for 30 years. I speak from experience. Now, four different guys came up to me after I did that exact thing and said, "You know what? We can't thank you," because I carry around these cards. Did you ever see my business cards?
Oh, look at that. No, I hadn't, Tori. You made up.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh,
I
wow.
carry them around because I give them to younger people
Wow.
because it's too much to talk about.
Yeah,
You
I
know what I
know.
mean? To explain it all. So I just say what I just said, and I say, look, find out about Scientology. It's worse than you think. And here's my card. This is
Wow.
everything they won't tell you. I mean, it's not everything, but it's a lot of it because
Yeah. Well,
Xenu.net has a ton of stuff. And anyway, every person that I've ever given that to, there's usually two or three other people that go, could I get one of those too? So I give them out all the time. I've given out probably millions at this point, but
wow.
they, they're very helpful because then you don't have to talk for 100 years,
Yeah.
because everybody wants to know about it. And I'm like, okay, here's a card, go
Well, great
do your
idea,
research.
Tori.
Yeah. Thank you.
I, I, and I, that maybe that's something I should invest in. And I mean,
Oh, definitely.
I don't put myself in those positions to, by the time I'd hand my next one out, it would be worn out in my wallet. So to
Oh,
figure something out.
I
But
give them out all the time. If I go to
yeah,
the
well, see, like I
doctor,
said,
I
you
tell
always
them.
you always have a fresh one from the last one. But it's I can't go maybe a month without somebody walking up and saying I know you from somewhere, or
Yeah, that's a
I'll
different thing. That would
yeah,
take
and
forever.
hear people talking about I saw this on the internet, and then somebody else, another coworker who knew my story, jumps in the conversation. It's like, well, that guy right over there, you know, you're gonna drop a turd that he was the head of security at their headquarters,
Right.
and it just leads to another, and I'm always so thankful that these people took the time of their lives to get themselves
I think
informed
you
of.
for sure should get some cards made up because for me, I just go up to young people and I say, I just want you to know your life is in danger. And they always look at me like, what? And I
Yeah,
go, hey, you're 15 minutes away from Scientology. And they go, oh my God, I've seen all those videos.
yeah,
I can't trust it. And I
yeah.
go, I know all the kids. It's true.
Isn't it
And then
incredible,
I give
Tori,
them the
how
card.
the image of Scientology is completely flipped 100 or 90 degrees. What are the 180? The
It
complete
is
opposite of what it
amazing.
once.
Yeah.
Hands down. And I got to tell you,
Yeah.
that is true. The
So
strong
all
work of
of
genuine
those
people.
guys that I gave the card to came back to me individually and said, we can't thank you enough. We were
Wow.
on our way to join the Sea Org.
Oh,
These guys
wow. What?
they'd already talked to him and they were on their way to
Oh,
join
my
the Sea
God.
Org. And they ran into
Wow.
me. And I gave them the card and they came back and said, no
Oh,
way,
geez.
no way. Thank you so much.
Wish you were around in
So,
Diamond Bar, California back in 1979. Because,
hey, I feel the same. You're also a fire. What's your title for the fire? You're
oh, I'm
trained
not in
in
the fire
fire.
service. I did 20 years as a firefighter in Southern California.
Firefighter. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, as a volunteer, but I was a very, very, very productive and involved firefighter in
Wow.
with Cal Fire Riverside County. I mean,
And that was before Scientology.
nope, it was while I
Oh,
was a Sea Org member. I started as a volunteer
wow.
as I was a Sea Org member and a staff member of the Int Base
Wow,
because I was
cool.
given carte blanche by Shelley Miscavige herself to go be one and do one and get involved as much and as hard and as often as you can. And
Oh, good.
so that gave me carte. Nobody could challenge me if I was gone for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. I was gone sometimes for a week or two on a fire assignment, mind you, and I
Wow.
was committed to an incident. But that's the only reason why I was gone, because it was the basis contribution to helping out the
And
local
who did the
community.
security when you were gone?
I just called in daily and kept up on stuff, and I had my deputy security chief. And
That's
fortunately,
it.
nobody would blow during those times. It was kind of ironic, but I got to tell you, I saw a lot of mad. Like I was 10 minutes late to going to the Yellowstone fires. You remember those fires
Yeah.
back when the lightning strikes and burned up a significant
Yeah.
portion? I was 10 minutes behind the engine, my state engine at the house that I was working at, the firehouse. I showed up and I was just 10 minutes too late. I would have been gone on that fire as an
Wow.
out of state, out of county assignment.
And
But
that's a long ways away.
well, yeah, but that's what happens when you work for a state fire department. Cal Fire is contracted with Riverside County, so Cal Fire being like the CHP, they're a state agency and they go all up and down the state of California. So,
Cool.
um, anyways,
I
so
love
yeah,
that story. You're the only Scientologist I've ever known who would have known what to do with me when I had a grand mal
oh
seizure.
yeah, absolutely. It just
I
and
mean,
that extended. And again, Tori, every time that I ring, that's the first thing that kicks in my head was that mental image picture of um, seeing what I saw before me down there in the mess hall and dining hall in Massacre Canyon,
right, right.
and no one knowing what to do. But he
Oh,
was looked
bless your
upon
heart.
also. It's just how the group frowned upon that person as a human being.
Oh,
That
yeah.
there's something wrong
I
with
was
them, and they're
always
a
called a
degraded being.
degraded being. Yeah,
Yeah, it's disgusting.
it is.
And completely overlooking the significance of what's in front of them, which is this is a human being in need of medical attention and help.
Right.
Completely
Well,
grotesque. So,
thankfully, I've taken medicine that's
well,
because of my mom in
yeah.
72. I haven't had a seizure in 30 years.
Wow, good for you, girl. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. I know. I know. I'm
I mean,
really,
that's something because you know the events and you know how harsh it is on the human body.
yeah.
And
I wouldn't have been alive if I hadn't. She was right. They would have killed me.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
another person who had epilepsy did follow their program, got off all his medication, and he's
Wow.
dead. So
Yeah.
she was
Well,
right. All right, so here's
do we have
another
more
question.
questions?
Yeah, I do. Gotta see it. Lapisha says, "How long were you undercover?"
Okay. Well, I'm going to take that to mean once I left staff. Did I keep my true mental status and state and frame of mind about Scientology? To myself, that would have been from 96 to 2009. So what is that, 13 years?
So after
And
Anonymous.
yeah, it wasn't, I mean, I even met with anonymous groups who would meet here in Portland, and I'd go attend their we'd meet up at a bar or a restaurant or something and chit chat. And I told them all, you know, that's how they got a lot of, not just from me, but speaking to us who had been there. Jeff Hawkins, I know, would go see him and stuff. But I would go hang out with these anonymous when that was a thing.
Right.
I wouldn't go protest with them because I didn't want that business in my life from the church. I wanted to go do it, but I just didn't want the resulting effects of doing so. I was really focused on work and making a life for myself. So, anyways, so yeah, from 97 until 2009, so 12, 13 years. That's my sisters, my mom. That's the last time I spoke to my mom was in 2009,
Oh,
and my sisters. So, um, and they were the last ones. Before the church got a hold of them, I got a hold of them and told them what I did. So they heard it from my mouth rather than the church's mouth. That
well, to
didn't,
your mom, if she's listening, call your
yeah,
son.
yeah, that would be fabulous.
I
So what
always
what
tell
else we got?
parents that. Okay, so Kelly
Lupita.
says, "Why did you stop streaming on your channel?"
Um, how do I answer this? I want to stream, but I want to. It's not the act of streaming. It's being there to answer and fulfill people's questions. Um, it's just not what it once was, and that's very disappointing. It's not my business to make it no longer disappointing. I can put a lot of work into making it fun again and all that, but it's going to be met with unneeded,
Yeah,
unsolicited
not gonna
bullshit.
happen. Yeah, not gonna
And
happen.
that doesn't mean success either way or the other. It's very unfortunate that this effort has been silenced. How's that?
Good.
Um, it's actions like this though, and I consider baby steps as an effort to be, and I was reached out to, what was it, a week or so ago, Tori, 2 weeks ago. Would love to have you. There was no plan up until minutes before. This is all organic. I like to keep it that way. I have no
I do
agenda
too. I know.
except
I
to
like it
help.
that way.
Yeah, and except to help people looking for help. And I just show up here or wherever I show up, um, with the pure intention of being there for those looking. I don't think I'm fulfilling any morbid curiosity. I think I'm fulfilling a productive curiosity of Scientology and the organization. So where I
I
can
think it's
contribute
good.
to that, I'll do that.
Yeah, I think it's very good. All right, now this is Ann Battles. I don't know if you know her. She said, "Jackson, I miss you so. I've always loved listening to you. I've listened to you, Tori, on and off, but I haven't seen Jackson for a while."
And you know what? I apologize for that. I'm sorry. Um, this having arrived at this point, I got to say, is not of my doing. Certainly not of my liking, but it is my choice. Um, and
We appreciate it.
yeah, and that would be my answer to that. It kills me that I'm not doing as, I wasn't doing a lot when I was doing it, but I think I was doing enough. I had inspirations and aspirations and ideas of how to make it more entertaining, but still hold strong and hold true to telling the truth, nothing but the truth, and keep it simple and
Yeah.
not. I don't glorify anything. I can't speak on the behalf of anybody, even if we were sitting here and you were telling me a story. I can't speak on behalf because I wasn't there. I
Right.
can only respond to what you just said in a contributing manner, repeating what you said, and don't change what you said. But that's hard to keep track of. So I don't speak on other people's behalf to much help. So,
Good point. Good
um,
point.
so yeah, and believe me, things that I do watch and I see do spawn stories that I'd like to tell or things I'd like to talk about, or I have input that I feel would be contributing to what's being spoken out at the time. But that's quickly overwhelmed by the next two things said, and it's like, oh my god, there's a whole bunch I could say.
I know.
So, I do love the fact that there's still people that there are still people here interested in that very core. What I believe was the backbone of what has become a problem to the Sea Org and Scientology, which is the internet,
Yeah.
because the internet, in its used the right way, uh, is what will persist and get Scientology held accountable for what they need to be held accountable for.
I think you're right.
And that is what we all know they need to be held accountable for. So that isn't to say also that I don't do stuff otherwise in the back behind the scenes. I'm not as busy as I would like to be, but I am busy as I can be doing stuff that I know that I wish I had when I was in, that I
Right.
don't. And I put in a great deal of effort. I can't tell you how much. And I hate that I can't tell you what it is that I've done, because it makes it. I could tell you, you know, I can tell you about anything without giving you specifics and leave you with, oh, you the only thing you can do is believe what I'm telling you. One thing that I do know is what I'm telling you is truthful. It's not a lie. It's not embellished. Um, and therefore, in my mind, enough to tell you that, like others, I'm not the only one. Um, but those who truly care are truly working behind the scenes to truly make an effort to change and hold accountability. That's what I can
Right.
tell you.
Right.
Not glorifying, not polishing a turd or nothing. It's just, and then the sources of people become sources of information for those truly have drawing in interest. And I got to tell you, you would. I don't know. I don't. Like I said, I don't want to make it sound more than it is, but I can only convey that you would be completely shocked and inspired by the depths in which these efforts are being made. That I can tell you, because I am. It
Good.
inspires me to keep doing what I can do from my ability.
Good.
So I'm not trying to do something I don't think I can make any impact on. I'm doing something I know I can make an impact on, and I've seen
And
the
I trust
results.
on that.
Yeah, so that's all I can tell you. I wish I could tell you more, but to tell you more just would, the only reason I can is simply because of OSA, and it would defeat.
Oh yeah. No,
It
I
would
hear you.
defeat.
I always say, don't say
Yeah,
anything that'll feed them.
yeah. They hate it. They hate it that I'm not spilling the beans, and our listeners in this community wish they can, but I think they're more understanding as
Right.
to why. And I'm thankful for that, but I'm sorry I'm disappointing you in that also.
You're not disappointing me.
Well, I
Yeah.
am. It's a continuous of the church's effort, to be honest with you. I got to say, their
I know, but
secrecy
I know
knows
how
no
they are.
bounds.
And
Yeah,
I know they want all the deep secrets. So I'm
yeah.
fine if you don't say anything. That's fine.
Excuse
Whew,
me. Yeah,
that's
the
okay.
level of their secrecy knows no bounds, and
Right.
yeah, that was the other thing that I witnessed when I was there, was the different levels of security. I figured since I had all access level of security, I was not given all access.
Right.
So when you bump heads with, well, I should know that, but you don't need to know that, and you're not going to know that, and why do you know that? Problem, as a security chief, you knew something was amiss. So, anyways,
Right. All right. Now this is from JB808. Question: what was the hardest part of rebuilding your life after leaving, and any advice you can give anyone who's thinking of leaving Scientology? Good question.
well, The hardest part of rebuilding my life was making a life for myself. Um, the multitude of opportunities laid out there were great. The ability to attach myself to any of them were very slim because the world is a merit-based system on initial contact, such as you need to have a resume that has the support of your capabilities and your certifications or training
That's true. Your
in it.
resume.
Yeah, and you can no longer bullshit your way. I mean, not in the Sea Org, but that's a different hiring process. You know, you're part of a
Right.
meeting where other people come up with you're good for this job, and they come find you and hunt you down and put together this package and submit your resume for approval. And next thing you know, you're doing one job one day and doing a completely job another, not at your choice. And
Right.
you never, there was never, Sea Org members don't seek out the positions that they find themselves in. Um, it's the positions or the organizations that seek people out and fill these positions with. So trying to understand how hiring happens in the real world is the complete opposite of the way it is in Scientology. You
Right.
do not go, I like to be a word clear one day. You can voice that initially, or you could tactfully state, hey, I really want to become a word clear in the right ear. And then they'll go, oh, because they're interested, this is a solution to my problem. I'm going to suggest them and put together a package. I don't have, that person doesn't have to do anything. They don't put together their own proposal and then get approved to be somebody else. You just drop your seed in someone else's ear. Or
True.
as a musician, hey, I used to play the sax in high school. Oh, we need a sax player over the musician. So off you go. And
Off
that's how
you
you can
go.
satisfy your personal interests. But for the majority part, so figuring that out, the do's and don'ts of the workplace, in every single one of these cases, there's 3 things I discovered you do not talk about and support in the workplace. That's payroll, politics, or religion. You can talk about anything else or do anything else in the workplace. You will not be backstabbed like you will when you talk about payroll, such as how
Yeah.
much you're making compared to someone else. Politics, your political views, or your religion. And 3 very sensitive things that it took me a while to learn. But I mostly learned by the surprise of what's going on here. Why do they have a job? I don't. Why am I being threatened? Why and they're not? So there was that. And then there was also the church burning my bridges. I should be in a firehouse now, close to retirement, but they worked hard to burn that bridge. But the one thing they couldn't take away from me was my commercial driver's license. So I have just been pursuing commercial driver license driven jobs, such as mostly driving or
Good.
things that required the possession of a commercial license. So that's the industry and fields that I've been with. But I got to say, any advice you can give anyone who's thinking of leaving, you got to make connection with somebody that you trust. That's the first thing is don't knee-jerk reaction, connect yourself thinking you're going to get help, but spend a little time doing a homework and conclude for yourself who you should go to get
Right.
the help you're looking for. Personally, that's my thing, because I only say that now because of how this community of ours has done an about face or been an introduction of ripples in the water, for lack of other description, making it
Right.
hard for those who truly need help to get that help. And then don't end up getting taken advantage of once that help is supposedly being given. So I guess it's not the only aspect of life in which this happens, but I got to tell you, having come from that environment, there's God-given things that I will never do. And that is betray somebody once I've given them my word.
Right.
Same thing as with the woman. I just would never, people can believe and think that, yeah, what you're saying on one hand, I would never do it. I just said never do it. It's
Right.
just this, I wouldn't take an axe and cut off my own hand. I may say I never do that, but you never know when you're going to find yourself with an axe in your hand and want to chop off your hand. Nope, never going to happen. So
No.
Same thing with nope, never going to betray somebody. It's just, I don't do that. Homie, don't do that. I just don't do that. And that's what this community needs, is somebody to help support them. I can't
Sure.
say they guide them. I'm just me, but give them the support they need to navigate out of that traumatic environment
Exactly.
and do all they can. They don't even recognize that they need to avoid stepping into another traumatized environment. You know, I mean, the world
Right.
is what it is, but
Right.
they can only trust so much based off of what they're hearing. You see actions anyways. So
That's a key point that you just said, though. It's a very
yeah,
key point.
well,
And
that's
more
my,
people need to hear that.
well, good. And I'm thankful that you find value in that, because
I do.
that's a value that I hold close to my heart. And I know there's
Yeah.
other people that do too, Dylan being one of
Me
them.
too. Me
Um,
too.
you know, some people may like apples. I like oranges. We'll never see on that. But you know what? The overall goal is, we do want happiness, and we do want to help people be good. And
Right.
and your statement is supported by your actions, and my statement is supported by my actions. It's not just
Right.
talk.
Right.
And I know that to be the success. So if someone says that, and I've also seen them action, it's an instant trust for me. If someone says that and yet I never see any action, and I see more
Yeah, that's a
counteraction,
whole different thing. It's all
then
talk.
yeah, then it's just all talk. And that's
Yeah.
kind of important when dealing with somebody so traumatized, leaving a traumatized
Very,
environment. This isn't
very.
just somebody who once worked at Adidas and now wants to come over and work at Nike. It's not
Yeah.
that kind of scenario at all. This is somebody whose soul was hijacked, and quite commonly at a young mind building age, and helping them peel back that onion to get back to themselves and let them be themselves and let them exercise their own freedom of choice and freedom of ideas and
That's
what
why I
makes
give
them
out the
happy.
cards
Yeah,
to young
yeah. So
people,
that
because
may be a
it literally could be, you know, their whole life with Scientology, or okay,
yeah.
go on with. I found this is a fun story. I found an African American standing out in Hollywood Boulevard, and he looked really bummed out. And I walked up to him and I said, "What's going on, man?" And he said, "Oh, they're trying to get me to join this thing." And I said, "The Sea Org?" Because it was right by a Scientology building. And he said, "Yeah, I'm going to join." And I said, "Okay, I don't mean to be rude to you, but I can almost guarantee one in your genetic line, someone was in a slave camp. Am I right or wrong?" And he said, "You're right." And I said, "Okay, so what you are joining is exactly that." And he looked kind of weird and he said, "I don't want to do it." And I said, "Okay, well, what do you want to do?" And he said, "I want to be a teacher." And I said, "Okay, then here's the deal. Get the hell out of Hollywood where all these Sea Org guys are, because you can see they're good at what they're doing. You almost joined. And go as fast as you can. I'm going to stand here and make sure they don't get you. And go do." And he wanted to be a teacher. I said, "Go back to college, become a teacher." And he just kept going on. I said, "Thank you so much."
Well, see, that's awesome, Tori. And that, it's what I consider part of that initial hump when someone's trying to conclude in their own mind it's okay to leave, even if there's someone sitting at the Int Base or down there at PAC watching this internet video, waiting for me or you and I to provide that golden answer as to what they're doing. It's helping them educate what they're going through at the time they're trying to make that choice. And that is Scientology, particularly the Sea Org, makes it a criminal conclusion to think that you want to do something other than the task that you're assigned.
Right.
If you voice interest in doing something else, you're considered a treasonous individual,
Oh,
someone
yeah.
who can no longer be trusted. Out in the outside world, it don't matter. You have, yeah, there's your goldenrod.
That's right. SP.
Um,
SP declare.
and see that is part of that cult environment. Is you have to get over that hurdle of belief that it's okay to no longer work here and there's no repercussions based off of that choice.
Done.
That and in today's world, you could work 10 different jobs within 10 months. It may not look good on an eventual long-term job that you're in pursuit of, because why have you worked, people look for stability when they're doing higher and higher quality merit-based jobs.
Right.
So you could be doing yourself a dishonor by working at 10 different places, but it's not frowned upon. It's not criminalized to
No,
voice interest. I don't want to work here. Half of today's jobs is about bitching about the job you're currently working out and complaining and bitching about the management that manages you. But we all default and go, you know what? I've got a check. I'm getting a check. As long as the checks keep coming,
there you go.
I'm good. And then behind the scenes, there's people always looking for jobs elsewhere. And
Sure.
there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
That is part of that cult culture that we're here to help them get over that hurdle, to
yeah.
then give them that personal comfort to then pursue the next step, which is actually pushing the handles in the door and releasing yourself from being locked in and walking out and
And
pursuing on your own.
exactly what Jackson says. Hubbard has a thing, the way out is the way through.
Yeah.
Now, you and I know he didn't follow that. He just took off.
Yeah.
So I came up with the way out is the nearest door.
Yeah.
And that's
That's
really
right.
true. It's like
It
open the door,
honestly is.
walk out. There is nothing they could do. And this is the top security guard at Int. But tell me that I'm right.
You are totally right, Tori. And I have to add some seasoning to that.
Okay.
When you walk out that door, go to the hospital or to your nearest firehouse.
Right.
The church can do nothing in those places to try
No.
to recover you. Go there and express your need for help.
Right.
And they will hand you a phone and put you in contact with those who are here to help you.
Right.
If you go to a grocery store or the bus station, that is a place that the church knows by their own drills that they can overpower you mentally, spiritually, or physically and get you recovered and brought back, because that is their goal.
Right.
Go someplace which is a public place. And I'm comfortable with saying this tactic because this is one thing that OSA can do nothing about.
Right.
Is if you're in that, like literally, if you run out of the flag building and run into the local firehouse and bang on those doors, or go to the hospital and just sit in reception and I need help, there's nobody will be allowed to come in and try to, oh, I'm here to help them. And the hospital staff will go, nope, we'll determine the type of help that they need. You need to leave.
Yeah.
They focus on the individual. They don't focus on the group of people that are there screaming, we're here to help them. No. So
Sure.
it neutralizes the church's effort is what I'm saying. Go to a public location and make the phone call that you need to make. The
and
phone
you can
will be
also
offered to
call
you.
like, oh, excuse me. Go on.
Go ahead.
Well, I was like, after OT3, excuse me, I thought I was done because I'd gotten rid of all the BTs and clusters. So I stopped taking one of my medicines and I went into status epileptus. Do you know what that is?
Yes, I do.
It's multiple grand mal seizures.
Yeah.
And so I called, and in reference to what you're saying, you can always call if you know someone that's on the edge, like they're about ready to leave. And I called this guy, Jerry Hall, and I said, Jerry, get over here right now. And I don't know how I knew to do that because I was like having many, many grand mal seizures. But somehow I did. He came over and got me to Morton Plant Hospital. And those doctors said 5 more minutes and you would have been dead.
See, it's
unbelievable.
It
So
is unbelievable.
You can always call somebody who, if you know, I think, Tori's on the edge, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
you can call them and say, please, can you help me?
Yeah, well, going into a public place, a high profile public place, mind you, there's nothing the church can do.
Right.
It doesn't matter how deep in the pockets with that agency or entity that they are with in a very public setting, even though as deep in the pockets they can be with them, there's no way out. There's no way around what they're doing. When you're there, just be genuine. I need help. I'm trying to leave the church. I need help.
So important. So important.
Keep it simple. And where do we go to help you? Well, I know that there's, people will get on the internet. If they don't know how to help you, they will Google themselves help for Scientology. And they will do one or two things, run across, well, we're not going to send them back to the church. that is through the work that you and I have done. They're going to recognize, well, I'm not going to reconnect them with the church.
Yeah.
But they'll see connections on where you can help if you're trying to leave. And, you know, that's the best bet. I will say there was 2 incidences where somebody was calling from the shadows, and they had called looking for help. They were actively right then and there, but they couldn't get over that initial barrier of the fear. But
Right.
I had stuff already in place, moving to go get them once they got there, and this was minutes from where they were. It all seems like this. What is that shady? I don't know, but I can't tell you. It's when you're shaking hands with somebody who's actually trying to leave a very threatening environment. It all seems clandestine. Is that the word I think I was
Right.
looking for?
That's right. Yeah.
But it's true help is what it is.
Yeah.
Even I had to get through that. Is this the Cult Awareness Network understanding that I once had before, where I was, kidnapping somebody against their will? No, nope, 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 nope. This is somebody who's helping. I'm helping by their choice and
Well,
trying to
now the
ease.
Cult Awareness, is owned by
The church owns.
Scientology.
I know, and I was there when that happened. But,
Yeah, me
anyways,
too.
if you happen to be somebody right now, or even if you've already physically left and you're under the PR impression like I did, kept up the facade that you're still part of it, but you really don't want to be part of it anymore, and maybe you
Right.
want to come contribute your story, or feel that feeling of mental and spiritual relief that you're no longer committed, and to the church, is the idea of being part of the church that you have to do. I mean, that's such a batshit thing. Like I said, once you leave Adidas to go work at Nike, you should have the comfortable and full interest comfortability of working at Nike without, oh, that's how, always comparison. Oh, that's not the way it was like at Adidas, because you're just going to
Right.
eat it alive. And Nike being that new world that you're now in, Adidas being the church, now you're at Nike, and then you cut yourself short of enjoying and embracing Nike and go back to Adidas because you can't find comfort in working at Nike like you had at Adidas.
Yeah.
That's again part of the cult entrapment.
It is.
And once you get to Nike, build a support group to better understand what you're dealing with at Nike, and that's
Good.
what we're here for.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for,
To help.
to not
Yeah.
feed you bad information about how crappy Adidas is, but to help you better understand the shoe industry. Does that make
Right.
sense? The shoe
Yeah.
industry being life,
Right.
being interpreted in 2 different ways, by Scientology and by the real world. Life is life.
Yeah. Scientology, I call the Scientology Truman Show
Yeah, the
because
bubble.
it's very isolated,
Oh yeah.
insulated, and the rest of the world is all talking about them.
Yeah.
It's so funny. All
Well,
right,
what other
now,
questions do we have?
okay, I'm going to go because there's a bunch of them. This is my moderator put this to do it, and it says Miss Tori is an old guard of high merit, which
Yeah, the
I
princess.
would add Jackson to, because you are.
Okay.
Okay, and then the next one is from Dylan. We got Murph did not
Dylan.
flow when Jackson was on
Oh
fire.
my God, that's an inside joke.
What does that mean?
That's basically, there would be an internal email sent to all the staff to not blow because Jackson's out on a fire.
Really?
That's a joke. That is
Oh,
great
that's a
humor.
joke. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, that's why that's an answer to what I said earlier. That surprisingly, I'd be on these incidents for 2 weeks at a time, and then there would never be a blow.
Right. All right. Now, this is from, does it matter to you? Not to me. Jackson, glad to see you again. I wish you would tell us more and more experiences. Well, he already explained.
I can babble on. I could just tell you things about like what it was like patrolling around the property at night on the rover bike, or the high speed chases that I did, or the local, murders that we found ourselves getting caught up in, what it was like at the Indian reservation, what Happy Valley was like, which is where the RPF eventually fell to, or what it was like holding watch up at Eagle. There's so much different things.
That's why you should continue your thing, because you have so many things that are really fascinating. And
that's what I feel, that it helps people fulfill, shake hands with what it was like walking around there every day,
yeah,
and the diversity of the stuff that I was able to see and embrace and have fun with and talk to, and you
I
know,
think you should do it. You need a moderator so they moderate any of the trolls so you don't have to worry.
you know what, Tori, I see the value of moderators. I have zero interest. I appreciate what people say, and the chat is a place where questions can come. That's as far as I look at it. I don't
Okay.
judge what I'm doing going, oh, wow, they have a lot of fun, nice things to say about me. Oh, look at, there's some assholes in here. I don't react to what is going on
Yeah,
in the
you're
chat.
used to it. All
Some
right, now here.
people are just way, way too invested, in my
All right,
opinion.
this is. It doesn't matter to you, not to me. Gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. I just wanted to note that because that's really. He's a very generous person. Okay, now this is from Dylan. That's how it felt when I talked to Tori, organic and real. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
Dylan and I
That's,
talked right when he left early on. And
yeah.
he was sort of the beginning of a great friendship. It's like Casablanca,
Yeah.
because I had my phone number up there. And so he called me, told me his story, and about 8,000 other people called me and told me their stories.
Hmm.
And then after a month, Dylan called me and said, "Hi, this is Dylan." And I said, "Who are you?" And he got really mad. He said, "I told you my whole story. How could you not remember it?" And I said, "Dylan, if you knew how many people I've talked to, and journalists and whatever, I was doing all kinds of stuff." And anyway, it was the beginning of a really cool friendship.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful, Tori. It's great to hear.
I know. Okay, now that's how it felt when I talked. Okay, that we already did that. Okay, so here's this from Miss Markabian. Jackson should write a memoir. I hear that all the time.
Yeah, and so do I. And that's just a lot of personal life time commitment. It's not like I don't want to do it, but I don't want to do it, and that's what makes YouTube so easier, as you can give your memoir in that. There's one individual on this planet that I've recently discovered and put a lot of thought into, that would mean so much to be able to do that to and deliver it to that person by YouTube, because minimally it's all documented. It's I talk a lot faster than I type, so it doesn't choke me off from what's going on in my head when I'm trying to say. So, I really, thanks, Miss McCarbian, Mc,
Markabian.
McCabian. Um, um, I just don't got the time. I'm sorry.
That's
Uh,
okay.
I
You don't
wish I
have to be
did.
sorry.
Maybe I need to figure out. I mean, because the internet's around forever too. So as long as hard drives and data storage exists, um, like for the libraries, as long as the libraries don't burn to the ground, that information is around. So
Exactly.
um, I'm not fearful of the stories and information I have to share or tell or going anywhere. I mean, from the St. Pete's Times to my YouTube channel and this interview, and those that I hang out with and tell stories about, or just pass on information. I don't consider storytelling. I just conveying information that not many
Right.
people know about.
Right.
So there you go. And thank you for that.
You are welcome. All right. Now this is from
Sydney,
Stephen
Stephen
Wills.
Willis.
Hello from Sydney. Wow. Tori and Jackson. When I first started Scientology watching, I thought Gary and Jackson Morehead must have been two really close brothers
Now, Jackson
because
is
they
not my
were
middle
always
name. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry.
in the same place.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Now, Jackson is not my real middle name. I always present my name as Gary Jackson Morehead, giving the impression that's my middle name. But it's not. That is my nickname when I was on staff, and I purposely include that wherever I post my name in our little community, because when people see that, they know that it's me, and they may be looking to reach out to me to either yell at
That's a
me or
good
to
thing.
get
That's a
help.
good
So
thing. Yeah,
that's the only
that's a
way
good
that I was
thing.
known, and that's why you see Gary Jackson Morehead.
And
Um,
how did you pick the name Jackson?
I didn't pick it. One of my guards did back in 1982. And again, part of the culture at the Int Base was everybody had a nickname, or more
Okay,
higher profile people had a nickname.
I
Not
got you.
everybody, but um, at one time everybody did, and slowly over the years, it was no longer demanded. But I was still there in the window where it was required, and it was an expression that I used to say for some reason, almost catching your fingers in a closing door. Whoa, Jackson, or walk in on a wet floor and just about slip or fall, and you'd settle down and you go, whoa, Jackson. Or seeing an accident just about happen, you're going, whoa, Jackson. One of my guards used to laugh every time I said it. I don't even know why I said it. It's just what I said. And then he started calling me Jackson, and that became my radio handle. And that's what I was called all the time, is Jackson.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah. You know, and again, my ears and brain understand Jackson a lot more than my born name, which is Gary. So,
and there's a million Garys. There, I don't know.
Sure.
You're the only Jackson I know.
Well, and from my perspective, Gary even sounds more foreign than Jackson does. But yeah, it is rare to find somebody named the actual Jackson. So,
yeah,
I guess it makes it that much easier to remember.
Now, this is another wonderful person, 49ers for life. And he has a question. Did Jackson know Pat Harney?
Yeah, more in passing than anything. She was more flag driven. I wasn't at flag. So only when I was at flag, and that was during the building and the height of the original tech trainees that went to flag. When Dave went there, I went there with him.
For the golden era.
Yeah, the golden age of tech. It may have been pre-golden age of tech drive. It was just, there was this big tech trainee drive. Yeah, anyways.
Miscavige is why I left. He was the reason I left, because I was on 7 for 7 years. It never worked. And I kept writing him and saying there's something wrong. And he finally announced it at the shrine that all the 7s are screwed up because we trained them wrong. And then sent us the reg to pay $25,000 to redo it.
You know, the first time I went to flag, Tori, was and again, this was kind of an internal realization at the time, that I wish I had had interaction with the public to better understand the goals and purposes of the Sea Org, because it was such an eye-opening to go, wow, these are real people. These are real people embracing what I do back at the base, which is build the audiovisual products that they are here reading and listening to and watching. And it is the whole basis of why they're here. So, you know, it was an interesting thing after all those years. It's like, God, it would really be part of the better part of the qualifications, at least as an Int Base staff member, to have had some public experience, public Scientology experience, to even before you came up here. So anyways, strange realization.
Now I have a question on that. Were you part of the Ray Midoff changing of the FN, saying that you had to go back and forth? I
was there when that happened. I was not part of the crew that developed it, but I would walk in and hang out with those people that did it. Yeah. From the RTRC crew. Well, I wasn't technically savvy. So, you know, that's like asking me, what did I think about the Read simulator? I thought the Read, you know, I was a security chief, so I wasn't versed much in the actual technical aspect of Scientology.
I got
you. I knew enough for it all to make sense to me. I didn't know why it became an issue to now become a project and a thing to have to be done. But I just entrusted, because Ray Midoff saying it, him being the ultimate, he's just one step short of source. Even internally, Ray Midoff was looked above Dave Miscavige.
Oh yeah.
Like because of his technical Scientology technology is who Hubbard handed Scientology technology over to, not Dave Miscavige.
Right.
Dave would have you think otherwise, but so that would be my answer to your question, Tori.
Okay, I gotcha. All right, now this is from Does It Matter to You, Not to Me. Jackson, don't for 1 second think that we don't appreciate those that are doing the work on the backside.
Well,
there's
that's
a
good
lot
to
of
know.
YouTube doesn't need to know. Thank you for all you're doing. I agree.
I can tell you, this isn't theoretical. It's not something that I do once a month, every other month, every 6 months. It's within a week quite often. How's that?
Wow.
And especially when the resources are available to work with. it ebbs and flows. It unfortunately ebbs more than flows, just because we respect each one another's life. That's as
Yeah.
much as I'll say.
Okay, good. All right, now here's the next one from 49ers for Life. I missed the beginning. Was Jackson high up on the bridge?
I was high up on the Sea Org Standard Bridge in terms of how much sec checking I got. The
Right.
bridge to eternal overt thou giveth, but not technically. No, on the Scientology Dianetics Bridge. I don't know. What did I start to get
You're
grade one?
lucky.
Yeah,
You're lucky.
no. At the time, I felt bad because I wanted to be higher, but I
Sure.
was also bumping heads with the man. I've been in the Sea Org for as long as I've had, and this whole offering of the bridge is free. They don't offer it free to the Sea Org. You got to work hard to get any of it. So
No,
they don't freely hand it out, especially at the Int
no.
Base. That's all I can speak of. Is if I was a national staff member or CC staff member, I don't know what it was like there. I can't speak on their behalf, but at the
No,
Int
I
Base,
can speak for them, and it's
you
they.
yeah,
Nobody
you
got.
had to fight for it.
Yeah, you
Um,
didn't.
Usually anybody I had discovered or witnessed who I knew to be at the time that I knew them at the Int Base was OT1 or higher. They arrived at the base as that. They didn't achieve it while there. It was always really rare to hear a completion of somebody on the advanced levels,
Right,
let alone achieve the state of clear while they're on the base. That was
right,
only usually the result of an extensive, what started off to be an ethics confessional handling, to eventually they continued on up clear to pet their soul, to make them feel warm and fuzzy that they were truly needed. So they transitioned it from confessionals into church processing to solidify their loyalty.
right.
And that was on a pick and choose. The more rougher that cannon will be at rough seas for Dave, the more effort was put into spiritually encapsulating them. So
Good point.
yeah,
Good
so
point.
therefore, yeah, I'm happy to say I did not make it up.
All right,
And who's
and this
this?
is from Dianetics.
Is that who I think it is?
I think it is.
That is the Chica. I think I could say Chica. She'd understand that. No
And
insult, but
I don't know her as Chica, but I know her as
well,
somebody else. But
that's a cultural reference. Yeah, she is. She's something
yeah,
special, I got to tell you.
she's special. And she said,
Yes.
Jackson and Tori, I love you both, and we love you. So
Okay.
we're on the same page. All right, now this is from Steve Wills. Okay, I've heard rebuilding life after the cult is a lot like rebuilding after a wildfire. Everything from scratch. That's a good point.
Yeah.
In this case, though, at least the wildfire doesn't have a fair game policy.
Yeah.
True. Very, very.
Yeah. Well, with recent events down in Pasadena, Altadena area, there is a little bit of governmental fair gaming going on,
Yeah,
but yeah, what you're conveying there, good sir, if that was a sir, that is so true.
yeah, let's see who it
And I've
was.
been on some pretty heavy,
That's
yeah,
Steve.
Stephen Willis, yeah, pretty significant fires where you would at least find a standalone 2x4 not completely built. I've been on fires where it's just complete um, white ash, and that's usually a sign of complete combustion to a firefighter. When you see white ash, that is complete. There's nothing further that can be burnt. So
Uh,
um, the fire triangle is completely, it doesn't exist in that material. White ash is white ash. So um, yeah, thank you for that. Thanks for recognizing that, because that's another way of conveying what it's like in
yeah,
our souls.
yeah, it's very true. Very
Yeah.
true. Okay, now this is another one from King's Kid. Okay, you're a wealth of information. He is. That's why I hope he does his.
Well, and I thank you for that. I guess I am. I mean, I can even tell you during the time the Sea Org uniforms transitioned into what kind of started the race for uniform superiority in the Sea Org, because they simply have still hold a strong interest in having good uniforms. Well, there was a time where uniforms were shit, and
Right.
they were nothing. And then
Right.
I used to put cardboard in the bottom of my shoes because I'd wear holes through them walking around security all the
Oh,
time, and it sucked at night because the moisture in the grass would soak through the cardboard and get my socks and shoes wet. Anyways, and then we discovered shoe goo. If anybody knows that, that was a product that
what
extended
is
the life
that?
of our. That's a shoe heel holdover band-aid. It's like silicone for the shoe. It's
Huh?
called shoe goo, and it's a shoe repair tube of um, gluish silicone. It was in a red white tube. I think I took a picture on my phone once somewhere that it's like, yeah, it was a staple of pre-Sea Org
That's a
uniform
good.
days.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah, Shugu. Yeah, somebody wrote.
Shugu.
I just saw pop up Shugu for the win. Oh my god, you have no idea. I mean, I'm sure you do, but the feeling of like, oh my god, you got to hold your hands on a tube of Shugu, and you
Right.
would be able to walk around without concern of gravel poking at your feet or
Sure.
getting moisture on the cardboard, ruining it. And then it was never even a passing thought. It's like, why am I allowing this? I better put the scream on and get me a new pair of shoes. Anyways, that's the way it worked.
I hear you. I hear
So
you.
yeah, I got down to that kind of stuff. So go ahead,
All right, this
Tori.
is from Ann Battles. Question: when you were out doing your volunteer work for the fire department, did you think it was odd how other people that weren't in Scientology could live their lives freely and you could not?
Very much so. It was two worlds that I would go to at least twice a week for the longest time, um, for training purposes, and I had to get my hours in out there to be recognized by the county that I'm a worthy asset, because some volunteers were not really that. They just sign on to get the badge and look good as a firefighter, but the county wanted represented by action, so you had to get documented response time hours in. So I had no problem with that. Um, and when I'd be there and hanging out, it was different for me. That was me being able to be me. I was aware of the two clashing worlds, what I was
Right,
consciously going back to.
right.
Um, but I was such a productive loyalist with the base that I cut myself short of seeing what's in front of me and taking advantage of it and just going, fuck that. I'm not going back to the base. Hey, Cap, can you help me?
Right.
You know, you didn't want to create a PR. I never had that thought of I'm going to leave when I go respond to a call or go do training at the firehouse or stay asleep, sleep over or something. But I will tell you this. On one of the times that I actually did, now the church will say I blew, and I only say this in my defense of not having attached to my name that I blew that base, because I didn't. I hopped the fence trying to get out to get to my wife, to reconnect and be in my physical presence of the absolute love of my life. And in my effort to do that, I hopped the fence, ran all night, went to one of my firefighters' houses. And as the sun was coming up, I could see a header off in the distance, which is a header is the indications that there's a big fire somewhere. You see all the smoke columnized up into the sky and it flattens off. That's called a header. That usually produced by the head of the fire. So I was afraid. It was kind of a sinking feeling as I was getting closer to his house. But he wasn't there that morning, and unfortunately, it cut me short of this path that I was not aware that laid ahead for me, because I found out later once I left and then reconnected with him. Okay, two things happened. He was married at the time to this other girl. She was the only one home at that time when I knocked on the door, and this was like just before 7 a.m. So I knew this going in, that I'm going to possibly startle her and not get the help I'm seeking. Hopefully he's home. So I knock on the door. She knows that it's me on the other side, but she was unwilling to answer it so early in the morning. I did not blame her. She says, I'm sorry, I just can't do it. And I said, okay, that's okay. And I said her name. I'll just wait for my buddy. Anyways, fast forward 15 years after all the exposure and everything, the storytelling that I've done, Tori, I get a text, a messenger text from that girl who was on the other side of that door.
Wow.
Saying, and all she said is, I am so sorry
I
for not
bet.
opening that door.
I bet.
I hadn't talked to her in 15, 20 years.
Right.
It was because of what I've done and the exposure I've done and the stories that I've told is where she saw my story.
Yeah.
And that's what got her to reach out to me. How she found me, I don't know, but she found me just to tell me that.
Oh,
And
that's
then
wonderful.
and then him, I told him, and I didn't reconnect with both of them at the same time. So maybe fast forward another couple years. And he was a firefighter buddy of mine that I'd grown up with as a volunteer out there at Golden Air. So he and I were like brothers, soul brothers, in the brotherhood of the fire world. So you never lose a friend. You may lose contact for a while, but you never lose a friend, especially when you
Right.
reconnect. It makes it that much more glorious. Anyways,
Right.
so he's like, dude, if I knew you were at my door, I would have told you to kick that fucking door in. Um, and yeah, and anyways, that it just the impact those two little statements had on me,
Sure.
because we're not out to bitch and complain and go, I'm a victim, I need help, I need help. When you're in those
Yeah.
moments looking for help, you're trying not to be a problem to someone else.
Right.
So you tend not to scream louder and persist through whatever resistance that you're met with in an effort to be heard.
Right.
So that's what ended up cutting. I can only use myself as an example, myself short of an earlier departure. Because I even had another time where I was in the middle of a field 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning with Holden and all these other fucking bastards from the church and executives, Greg Willahair and Mike Sutters and all that fucking surrounded me in this open fucking field in the middle of nowhere. And a CHP officer and a Caltrans person a stone's throw away. And I can hear Ken Holden telling them he's just having a spout with his wife. Where I was really screaming. I had the opportunity to scream out to a highway patrolman who I know would have helped me. Who
Right.
I most likely also knew at the time through my fire department, because you know all the local law enforcement guys on a one-on-one basis. But anyways,
And you
you
don't
get
think they
that
would have
close.
helped you?
Oh, they absolutely would have helped me. It would have been
Okay.
different than, since Mark's story has exposed how law enforcement could be of actual help to people. With him, people calling in that somebody ran him with his car on his bike, and the sheriff is out there, and they understood to the best of their ability and helped them out to their best of their ability. But
Right.
back then it was just different. At least I could have been screaming at the right person,
Right.
and it would have been documented early on that this tragedy exists at this fine paradise of a compound called Golden Era Productions. But I was in pursuit of trying to connect my wife. That's the true sad side of it. But yet it was used against me as part of their tactics. And that's the sad part of it. That's what they do. They don't give a shit
No.
about the impact it has on you as a human. They just serve up what is serving them,
And
and
for
ultimately
anyone
only serves them.
listening, listen to what he said again. They
Yeah,
don't give a shit about you.
they don't. They will tell you
They really don't.
they will hand you the winning lotto numbers and the stack of cash that goes with it, but there's
Right.
a chain attached to it. They will give you 7-course meals for the rest of your life and clothe you in the finest clothes and put the finest roof over your head. And all of it's got a chain attached back to the church. And the moment
Always.
you resist them, it all gets ripped out from underneath you. And it never was what it appeared to be.
No.
So, and it was, you just, Osa, that you guys sitting there listening, you are the ones that truly need this information the most, but it'll take a while to sink in. And unfortunately, that's what we're here for, is to tell the truth, because it does happen. And all it takes is an effort or two on the staff member's chance to try to leave, and they'll start shaking hands with that reality. No one just get ups and leaves successfully once.
No.
It's usually it's usually the result of a few attempts.
Well, I did, but I was public.
Yeah, and
And,
you and I understand that difference.
yeah, we
So someone
understand
on
it.
staff,
Staff, forget it.
yeah,
Yeah. It's a difficult thing. I had a funny thing. You know Kenny Lipton, right?
I loved Kenny Lipton, and I also was tracking him down when he blew.
Okay,
He
so
was,
I knew him
yeah,
back at CC,
yeah,
right?
and his
Now
sister
roll
Peggy.
forward, I don't know, 10, 15 years, and I'm auditing as I trained as a set checker, so I could co-audit. Like you audit me, I audit you.
Mm-hmm.
on FPRD, right? And you had to be a trained sex checker to do that. So I got trained on it. Now I'm back at AO, and they want me to audit this guy, a CEO guy. So I'm sex checking him, and he keeps saying Mr. Lipton, Mr. Lipton, Mr. Lipton, and I don't put the two together at all because he's sounding like the guy's just awful, and I love Kenny Lipton, so I'm not putting those two together at all. And finally, he had so much torture about this Mr. Lipton. I said, could you put down the cans? We're going to go meet Mr. Lipton. I want you to take me over to his office because I want to talk to him. And so we go across the street and we go upstairs. And I say, you just stand outside. I'm going to talk to this guy. And I knock on the door and I open the door and there's Kenny with a hat on and everything. And he's like all, Sea Orgy. And I walk in and I say, what the hell are you doing? This guy is terrified of you. You are not a terrifying person. Snap out of it. You know what I mean? And he burst out laughing because it was like he knew me from way back when, and I knew him. And I knew whatever they've gotten you to do, this isn't you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I just told him that. I said, this isn't you.
Kenny and his whole family was a jewel. I mean, that was I embraced him and his family in '79 when I was, or '80 when I was on the CMO EPF. I was doing his and his family's laundry. Justine and Jennifer, his two daughters, and then his wife Mickey, who was just fabulous. And again, these fine folks that you embrace as much as you can as a personal friend, but you really can't. But to Sea Org standards, to the Sea Org definition of a friend, I embraced the heck out of those two. And Kenny was a great guy. And I ended up having to watch him at the Int Base when he got bumped up there. And then he failed, or supposedly failed in Dave's eyes. And then I had to chase him down when he blew. And this was one of my earlier recoveries. And I was down in Westwood area looking for him. And, I had to go through this whole thing. And I was heartbroken that Mickey was so heartbroken, but yet she was screaming on the inside, but couldn't show it on the outside.
Yeah.
And anyways, unfortunately, rest his soul, he's no longer with us years ago. But Peggy is, she's with her grandchildren, and that's another beautiful thing. But yeah.
And Dylan said Mickey was a gem. Kenny's wife. She was my guardian when I joined.
Yeah, see, she was
shortly after.
Yeah, and again, thanks, Dylan. I mean, he sees her the exact same way I saw her. So, but Dylan had his own experience with him. I mean, he's lucky that he had Mickey as his guardian. So, she was some other figure, but she was also a good executive. And she also said a fashion thing. She was also, I remember her and all these other CMO messengers down in PAC where they all had this whole fashion thing. I remember Cherokee's shoes. Heeled rubberized shoes at Cherokees were a thing, and Sassoon jeans and stuff like that. Anyways, I did loads and loads and loads of their laundry and lice handlings, completely washing everything numerous times. Anyway, so see, I got another story.
That's why I'm saying you have endless stories, and it's. I really hope you get back to doing them because it's sort of like they just fill in the blanks of all the, like you said, between the different things.
Yeah, and reality. My experience in the Sea Org landed me in a lot of places that not a lot of people were able to see. In that, I was even there when the GO was being moved out of Lebanon Hall and Jane Kember was being depowered, because I was cleaning her room and I'd sit there and talk with her in her room and see her, how upset she was and how in love I was with her accent. And she was just she was a very tall, gentle giant and sweetheart. But anyways, doing laundry of all the base executives, all sorts of stuff. So, so, okay, next question. I feel I'm taking up time.
This is somebody who knows. Pardon me?
I just feel my yapping is taking up time where it should be directed.
No, we have 6 more things. Okay. So this is Jackson. This sounds like someone who knows you. They're called loop tape. It's been too long. So glad to see ya. I'll have to go back and watch the replay to catch what I missed. I really hope we see more of you if you'd like. You're awesome. Okay.
Well, thank you for that. I've definitely been chewing over the idea of creating time in my life when I have it to do it at a time that I feel is best to those listening. So yeah, I
Yeah.
hear you. Thank you.
Okay, good. And this is from Lapisha. Tori, really enjoyed this interview. Thank you for your valuable insights, Jackson.
Sure.
Yeah, he's great. I'm really thankful that you came on. All right. Now this is from Loop Tape. What story what story makes Jackson laugh the hardest?
Oh man.
That's a tricky one.
See, that would be firehouse antics. Stuff that would happen at the firehouse because um I mean, that isn't to say, I mean, there were people who made me laugh seriously, like his name was Paul Kellerhouse, but we called him PK. Um
I
he was
knew
one of
him.
he was one of my guards, and just the dry humor. That guy had a Midwest level of humor, and it was just so like Archie Bunker style delivered, you know.
Mm.
Um and Stories that made me laugh the hardest. I don't know. I laughed a lot, I will tell you that, and that was something that made it fun being in security. Is regardless of the significance and seriousness of being in an Int Base security force, and the things that we did, saw, and executed, we still found a way to laugh amongst ourselves. So,
I think you
um,
kind of have to do that when you're in a cult. You have to be able
yeah,
to laugh.
and we found ways of laughing without being joking and degrading to Syria, and
Right.
that cut us short, really, of a lot of good laughs. I'll tell you that. Uh, but in terms of great laughs of stuff that would happen, um, yeah, we had good. I'm sorry, I can't. I can't.
It's hard to come up with
It is.
an incident. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this says this is Dylan. I knew PK. She sent me to the RPF's RPF. Wow.
Yeah.
It wasn't his fault. It was Shelley's order.
Yeah. Well,
Interesting.
surprisingly. Yeah. See,
Wow.
some people know Shelley differently than I knew her, and although I was not, see, this would be a fine example of sticking to what I know about people or incidents. Dylan has his experience. I
Right.
have my experience.
Right.
They may not be one and the same, but they were both our experiences.
Right.
Dylan's may not be favorable where I is. Mine are favorable to the degree that they were more productive interactions and
Right.
more personal.
Right.
Then I can pretty much guarantee that Dylan's were not productive interactions, and
Not on the
they were,
RPF's RPF.
yeah, and more controlling. But nonetheless, that was his experiences. They were mine. All I can do is convey my experiences. I will forever, in my own way, be in debt to the depth of the true human that I saw with Shelley. And I never turned a blind eye to what actions I saw of her. I will say that there's other people. There's other people who were there that some people absolutely despise, and I absolutely will to this day tell you what they meant to me. So that's part of the toxic environment in the Sea Org. Is it's always an extreme one way or the other. The
Right.
negative obviously being bad, but if someone's going to be bad, they're going to be really bad. They're not just going to be mildly bad, I guess. I don't know. I can only use myself as an example. I did the best to be a happy medium,
Right.
and I did that consciously. I would, on one hand, say, yes, sir, I will make sure that they scrub these dumpsters um, with toothbrushes in their underwear on a hot summer day, but I will take a garden hose and throw water or cascade water over that to make it cooler for them.
But I
Um,
think you got that product because everyone I know, whenever I hear your name, it's with love. I've never heard a nasty thing about you ever.
well, that's good, and well, there ain't no whistle to be tooted here. Tori, but all I can tell you is that what I hold true for myself is set a standard for the reputation that I have, I guess. So I just hold strong at that, and I hold that loyalty to those I choose to have friends as
Good,
his friends in my life. So I may screw up every now and then, but I will do all I can to fix it.
good,
Um,
good.
and yeah, I've had a few of those, but I've also fixed them. So
But I think you're
um,
known for that, so
well,
people really appreciate it. They do.
all right.
All right. So now Kelly says, this is just a suggestion that she said you could do segments of your stories and experiences on your channel, Jackson.
Well, I thank you for that input. And yeah, it's unfortunate. There is a side effect of segmentizing my storyline, my stories, because they always bring other stories. And I've thought, how do I control that thought process? Um, I listen to a lot of music. There's a lot of music, especially in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, that bring back details of said stories. So much so the feeling that it's like if it was a snow incident, you would feel the chill of the cool air that you felt back then, or the hotness of the sun beating on your skin, or the smells. We all claim that we have those type of things that we're able to do when you're that deep in memory about something.
Right.
Um, but I do have this. I'm surprised at myself. This unique, detailed ability to remember particular details. Writing down talking points is yeah, I have tried that, Kelly. That is so true. It is good advice. It's still, and especially the listening crowd, that it kind of grows further questions from diverting me where I was. But like I gave this story of one night I was patrolling around, shaking doorknobs, checking to make sure the RTC offices were secure, and I found an open door. And I walk in, and guess whose computer I found logged on? Now, a computer still logged on in the middle of the night. Well, it happened to be
Who?
IG admin's, Mark Yeager's. And there I am sitting there at the
Ah,
keyboard, and it says IG admin. And I brought up, as you would in today's standard, bring up the ability to send an email. So I did, to document my fact that I was there. There was no cameras, but just to document that I found this. So I sent a Merc to the DUR-INR.
what is a Merc? Because I don't know what that
It's
is either.
it's it's short for Mercury, the system, the internal email. It's like Outlook or Yahoo for back then. It was our
Thank
internal
you.
server based communication system, internal email.
Okay,
It
I
was
got
our
it.
internal email, but it was called Mercury. And I think that was a product name. But it
Okay, so
also
you would say,
symbolizes Mercury. It was this fast and efficient line of communication. But yeah, it was sent a Merc. It's how you sent and receive electronic communications amongst us
okay,
staff. So, and of course, it has a title, to, from, CC, and all that, the typical format, and yes, sir, no, sir, dear sir, hi, sir. So, and it was just this thing. I just will never forget the quietness, how lonely it was, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Here I was sitting at the IG admin, one of the 3 or 4 top senior execs of all Scientology. I just discovered out security. And,
and
you know,
IG is for these guys.
Inspector
What is
General,
Inspector
Inspector
General?
General. So just like it's like, the CEO is like chief executive administrators who have been the CEA, the IG ethics, the chief executive ethics, and tech for chief executive tech. Same comparison in today's world to the internal world of Scientology.
That's good.
It's
That's
like the
good.
buck doesn't go anywhere beyond them than Dave, and Dave always
Right.
the buck always stopped below those with Dave. It never
So
stopped
what
with him.
happened with that? Did you report him or did
Oh
you?
yeah, I did. I said, this is Jackson. On my patrols, I found this computer logged on. I didn't put any names. Um, so yeah, but to internal stuff, that was a big wow. If everybody else knew, well,
Sure.
he didn't get to have to do lower conditions, all that horse shit. So I shook hands with a lot of those type of things all the time, those double standards.
Wow.
So especially at
Wow.
the executive level. Anyways,
Now I have
so
a question for
see,
you.
there's just another story. Go
Do
ahead.
you and this may be, I have a feeling you wouldn't know this, but just, I gotta ask you it anyway. They used to call me all the time and they'd say, the critics are going to be at the Sizzler at 12:15, and we want you to go there and, see if you can handle them. And I never knew, how did they know that the critics, where they're going to be? They obviously had to have plans. That's the only thing I can figure.
Well, that is the biggest thing, and that was a developing procedure in the years that I was there, Tori. It's all refined now, and the amount of money that you can use to pay for the shortcuts to
Sure.
the information you're in pursuit of. But the internet didn't exist for the major part when I was assigned the tasks and tasked with the stuff I was tasked with. So it was mostly all intelligence. Intelligence was a big word. It was a big drive. It was all about intelligence. And
Yeah,
again, without knowledge, you have no power. So intelligence gathers knowledge.
true.
And then it gives you power to do something about it. So without that knowledge, you're hanging to dry and you have no answers at the freaking meetings that you're brought into at any time of day. So what your solution? Well, I don't have a solution because I don't have the information, but you had to act as though you had all the information. But if you admitted you didn't have the information, you'd be in trouble for not having the information. So it's just this vicious whirlpool of you get thrown into the
So
washer and they
crazy.
put you on the big extra wash cycle. So I remember that it was OSA's job to figure that out. They used PIs. PIs were very productive back in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. There was the payroll for PIs was long pages and pages and pages. I'm sure they still productively use them now, but not as many because a lot of them have turned face. So they have a different pre-qualifying checklist.
Yeah,
And there's a lot of PIs that they've looked to hire that will not work for them because of what they do. So their own doings have created their own problem. But at the back in that, people were money hungry. There was anybody who do anything, and they do the longest at it.
true.
I mean, there was
True.
local PIs out there that OSA would hire in the local area. That's how I became aware of their network. Was the PIs that they hire always turned out to be from locals, but they would get used elsewhere, but they would send the locals to the local place. So there was OSA had a few hired PIs in my local area, so I got to know a few of them really, really well.
I got you.
So that's
All
how
right.
they get that information, and then they would show up. And of course, there was a person to be able to be assigned to any task needed. Tori, it was the personnel pool was today's world's dream of be able to throw people at it. You could throw people at it, instead of throwing
Right.
money at it, you could throw people at it and then get the information and bring it back.
Yeah, true.
So
Very true. Good point.
yeah,
All right, so on to the next one. This is from someone that sounds like they know you. Barry Snyder. Jackson, it's nice to see you again. This live stream with fellow survivors in the chat is a breath of fresh air in the midst of these decisive times of infighting, etc. Thanks, Tori and Jackson. You're welcome. Yeah,
baby
I
steps.
think
Yeah.
both of us are kind of work on that, like keeping the drama somewhere else.
The way it's always been for
Not
us, right,
interested.
Tori?
Yeah,
Yeah, before and after, it don't matter. We're still the same. We still do the same.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
got into Scientology to help people. And ironically, I really never helped anybody while I was in, but I have helped thousands of people since I've been out.
I
It's
look at the
amazing.
20 years of Tori and I go, what the fuck did I do when I was there? Absolutely
I
nothing.
know.
It's
I know.
amazing. You were the
I
most
know.
productive have to answer to the lack of production, whatever's. But then when you step back and look at it all, what the hell did I do? I actually produced, I guess I could say different from your average staff member is that I kept a property secure,
Yeah,
but I also contributed in many ways in all hands and yada yada yadas, building meters and books and cassettes and all that, films and all that. Yeah, that was all extreme busy work. That
exactly.
it's a weird feeling to recognize that.
It
You
is.
know,
It is. It really
even
is.
like Mitch, who is just so dear to my heart. Um, you know, he produced all these films to the quality and ability that he has. and he gave them everything he had in his talent. And then you walk away with that, didn't produce shit. And then you start shaking hands with the effects of your actions. So there's that. But nonetheless, I just hold
And Mitch
strong.
was the person who told me a friend and I went to Author Services one time to protest, and just cruise around. And we heard Miscavige lived near there, so we thought, all right, let's go by there. So we go by there, and this guy comes up in big military outfit, like really, really, definitely military, not Sea Org. And Peter, who I was with, starts saying, where's Miscavige? And the guy says, I don't know. And he says, well, that's your job. Where is he? And, they're like two guys going at it. And I think this is not going to end up well, because this guy's going to call the cops, or Author Services will. So I just lean into the guy, kind of cutting them off. And I say, do you have any idea why we're here? And the guy looks at me and he says, no. I said, okay, well, they owe me $1 million and they won't talk to me. And he turns all white. I don't think anybody had ever asked him, do you know why we're here? And different people had been there.
But he was there under some sort of representation of ASI?
Well, listen to what Mitch tells me. Well, let me finish. So he turns all white, and a Sea Org guy comes running out, pushes him into the garage, and shuts the door. And I told Mitch this is years later, at least a few years later. Mitch was out, and I tell him, and he said, if you see those military guys outside a building, that means Miscavige is in the building.
Got it. Yeah, the extreme hired heaters is what I called them. Hired heaters because they carried guns. Wow. Yeah. Well, that's interesting. That's the new level to me, because I was aware of those hirings and those people in play because I used to travel with them and knew the little entourage games that they would play, these security checkpoints and all that. But to go to that next level, I mean, that's top dollar. That's high dollar. And representation of the less informed these hired heaters are, the better they are to work for the church, because the more focused they are on keeping people out.
Right.
They don't let any of the frills or the sauciness that lies around what they're presented with get in their way of staying focused on protecting nobody. Because boy, that's interesting. So Mitch got to see that shit.
And I got to see it.
Yeah, and you got to see it
firsthand. I cut him off.
That's kind of bone chilling, I got to say, to think to the levels. I mean, Dave, that's just proof that Dave spares no expense to his personal security.
Right.
He compares himself to 100 times beyond any leader of today's given world in any capacity, from religious to presidential or anything. He considers he's way beyond all that. So, yeah.
And you think how poorly he's thought of.
Well, he has no social skills, Tori. And he'll never have it, because you can never stay on top of it unless you're involved with it all the time. So that's their own continued weakness. They will always be sticking their foots in their own mouths and up their own asses, including Dave, because they can't keep up with the times, and they don't keep up with the times. They don't involve themselves with the times. Bingo. So they will never keep up to it. And that's their biggest weakness.
Yeah, in 2000, I was on the internet, and the critics started calling them foot bullets. Yeah, and I didn't really know what that was. I really didn't, and I do now.
Yep, they are foot bullets of common society and the social veneer of society. So,
totally.
Anyways,
so we only have a few more.
Okay,
Dylan said, "You're okay in my book, Jackson. Glad to see you, brother."
Yeah, I've done whatever I did to be acceptable back in the Dills world, so that's good.
And again, this is Loop Tape. Says, did Jackson interact with Bunky? That's Mark Bunker.
No, because he was in Florida.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Actually, Mark came to me and filmed me a couple of times here in Portland.
Okay.
And I've interacted with him on the phone. I mean, he's just he's a good man. He's a well-intentioned man. He knows how to navigate. Yeah, he knows how to navigate this landscape. and does it really well. And the benefit is he was never in. But I got to tell you, that guy knows more than OSA staff know about
Well,
its
I'll
own
tell you,
thing.
I've spent years he's helped me because I used to do speeches. I'd go and talk to groups,
Hmm.
and Bunky would film it. And then he would say certain things, and I would always take him aside and say, okay, this is true, this is not. And
Yeah,
he'd say, well, if it is not, what is it? And I
yeah,
always tell critics this because
yeah,
Bunker took the time to learn. Do you see
yeah,
what I mean? Like
yeah.
some people, they never learn. And
Well,
especially the kids on TikTok, they're
I
like,
know.
tell us everything. And I'm like, go look. It's all on the internet. Tell us about Gary Morehead. And I'd be
Yeah,
like, go Google his
yeah.
name, you know?
And like you, Tori, I do the exact same thing with the critics. I would be right up front. Don't waste my fucking time if you're going to take what I tell you and change it, because you're just doing a disservice.
That's why the
And
cards are good.
well, yeah, the cards work in that case, but in this case, I just held a hard zero tolerance. And before I started the process, is if tell me now, otherwise. And then also, I held a hard line that before you publish what you're going to publish, I need to see it first before you release it.
Right.
And
Me
they
too.
held integrity
Me
up
too.
that. Tony Ortega did that, and Joe, and more importantly, Joe and Tom, Joe Childs and Tom Tobin held a hard. They always before we released the story that had anything to do with me, they'd call and talk to me with the details,
Right.
and they gave me the freedom to correct them, not to embellish or polish it, but all I
No,
would do is correct them. As long as
exactly.
what they were telling that I was in agreement that that's the truth, then that's what I would do. So, um, yeah, Mark Bunker is another one of those folks. And I got to say, the people on the outside that report about the inside, it truly humors me how much they truly know. They know more about the inner workings of Dianetics and Scientology than I ever did and ever have interest in ever knowing. And they're kind of like my go-to if I ever
Right.
have a question about it. And I got to tell you, Mark Bunker, he has got the playbook of Scientology in his hands because he's figured it all out in the path of the pursuit of what it is he does. And he's a man of passion. He's really it just, he may like Nikes, I may like Adidas. That's never been an issue because he remains a good, honest individual.
Good.
And that's what I appreciate about him.
Yeah.
I don't know if he likes
Well,
Nikes or Adidas. Uh-oh, what do we got here?
this
What?
is your
Oh,
this is your YouTube site.
yeah, there's a few pictures. There's my firefighting days. There's a rover bike that used to be my rover bike. That's up behind the main booth.
Wow.
I guess that's my
Cool.
Facebook channel, huh?
Oh, is that your
I
Facebook
mean, not
channel?
Facebook,
Okay.
my YouTube channel.
YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's what all that stuff's reminding me of. There's my crew down there in bottom center. My crew
Yeah.
from the firestorms of 2000. I don't know, 2000, year 2000. There's some firestorms in Southern California, San Bernardino and San Diego. Anyways, that was my crew during that time when I was covering any county, any station in the entire county. Anyways,
Good for you, Jackson. It's really great that you know all that stuff.
it's funny. I see an average fire engine nowadays, and my eyes are qualifying. I look at the hose loads. I look at how shiny the light bar or their brass are, how well cared for the engine is. That's my first. If I don't see the standard, I haven't seen the value in, then that tells me so much about the department. I could be wrong, but today's departments, they don't wear uniform shirts when they're out and about in public. That doesn't make sense to me. We used to
Right.
wear uniform shirts with our badge on. Why the hell
Right.
they've relaxed down to t-shirts with the department? That's lazy. That's a
Right.
lazy standard. Just talking out loud. Sorry.
Do you know Shark Tank?
Yeah.
Okay, this firefighter came up. And now you may have already seen this, and if you have, tell me. But anyway, I thought it was fantastic. He comes up and he says, I have a way to shorten how long it takes to get the water to the hose.
Oh,
And they're
okay.
all kind of like, huh? And he goes, all right, I'm going to put out a fire hydrant. And we've got another firefighter on one side. I'm going to be on the side with the fast one. And we're going to see you guys time how long it takes. And he puts his new thing on, and it's like a second. and
Quick
it
connect.
hooks up.
Yeah.
And this one, it's like
Right.
and then the water comes out. And I'm telling you, these guys went nuts.
Yeah.
All 5 of them went. We want in on it. You know, they ended up. Mark Cuban ended up buying his business because he said, "Look, you're a firefighter. You want to fight fires, right?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Okay, I'm going to buy your business for $50 million, and then I'm going to give you $5 million a year for 5 years, and a percentage of the business." That's how much he thought of it.
Wow. That's fascinating. You know, and the firefighters thinking, boy, there goes no more late nights at the firehouse. Yeah, you know, just as when you're telling me this, I'm thinking the technical aspect of, you know, today's inventions in the fire service and making quicker connections for your water supply. You know, the tradition and growth of the fire department was as cities were developing, and as they developed the water systems, the fire departments had to figure out how to tie into them, and then also
Sure.
considering the local agencies that would be in their surrounding areas coming in to help, they had to be
Yeah.
able to also tie into them, and also vice versa, they had to tie into other water systems. So they created the standard of the national piping system with the type of threads. So
Right.
everything in the fire service has those standards to all the different sizes, but it's the threading. And then, so that thread being established long ago, it's hard to introduce these because, like here in Portland, they have these quick connects. It's an appliance that they add to the hydrant, to every hydrant there is. So there's probably thousands of hydrants. So to justify their yearly budget, they went out and bought these things that then eliminated the nearby departments that support them. So say one city bought it and set up all their hydrants internally, the outside agency that would be brought in to support a large scale incident couldn't tie into their water system because they eliminated them when they added their new appliances to the hydrants,
Oh,
and they
that's the
couldn't
other
adapt to
side.
the, so there's that at play. But I'm not trying to pee in that guy's cornflakes of bringing his thing to to to
Stop
the Shark
peeing in
Tank.
his cornflakes.
Yeah. But you know, with that, you have to consider the effects it has. So you provide it once, you have to provide it for all in the fire service, is what I'm trying to say. So yeah,
I hear you. I hear
that's
you.
fascinating though. I mean, how cool is that, Tori? If you and I were able to come up with that idea, pitch it to someone, they go, "Yeah, I'll just pay you 50 mil for it." I'm like, "What?"
Okay.
Here, it's yours. Where do I sign?
Yeah, really. All right. Well, anyway, I think that's the end of our questions. Does anyone have any comments or
I think
questions
someone's. How many
before
people
we
are with us tonight? I never.
69.
Wow. And it
I
looks
have a
like we've been
small
here for.
channel. It's not like a huge channel,
No,
but
that's
that's
okay. It's one
because they're good
person.
people.
One person's good enough for me, Tori.
That's the way I feel. It's like
Yeah.
that's how I started speaking out on the way of them chasing me across the country. I wasn't going to speak out. I wasn't going to make videos. But then I thought, you know what? If I can help one person
Yeah.
not get suckered into this mess,
Yeah.
it's worth all the fair game they're going to do on me.
Yeah.
And it has been. It really has been.
Yeah. It's unfortunate shock to the system, but that's the true effort of a cult, Tori. That's my conclusion. That's cults are just batshit crazy. Nexium is a great example. In my conclusion, and I believe I brought this my conclusion about based off of the sources of information, but the Nexium, the difference between Nexium and Scientology is there's no execution and application differences really. There's, you know, the same book, different kind of language, but
Right.
why Nexium was able to be held accountable is because they did not identify as a religion, and thus the authorities
Bingo.
can go after them, and that's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We need to get Scientology defeated with their parading around, this business parading under the cloak of religion.
And you can see how they're really building that.
You know, it's the government. I look at it this way: somehow the seamstress certified a firefighter. How that
Right.
happened, I don't know. But a seamstress certified a firefighter. Well, a seamstress certified Scientology as a religion. Yet they have no idea how they did it.
Wow.
Society looks up to the seamstress as the one that certifies people.
Wow.
And the church got away with it. It was Dave's shortcut of cheating the system. The IRS
Yeah.
is not they're not a legal entity to identify anything as anything other than you are a tax-paying identity or
Yeah.
non-tax-paying identity. They don't certify anything, but they ran with the name of the religion, the government name attachment to the IRS, that the government recognizes us. Anyways, people, that's the other thing people need to understand. Scientology is not truly an identified religious entity to any
No.
standard. There
No.
may have been
I
people who have come
always
along
say
since.
it's a fraudulent business
Yeah.
pretending to be a religion. That's
Yeah.
really
And they
what it is.
happen to be a human trafficking,
Yeah.
abusing, that they've then exercised the cult ability to abuse
Right.
women, souls, and fraudulize people.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
So a whole bunch of people are saying thank you. Gary, you are a legit dude. Please come back sometime. Looking forward to a part 2.
Okay.
I agree.
Well, sorry I bored you all for 2 hours and 30 minutes.
You didn't bore us. If you bored us, they wouldn't keep asking you
Okay.
questions.
Well, I guess that would be fun to think how many of those. What did somebody say? There was 89. How many of those 89 stuck around? But anyways, I'm not into all that. One person is enough.
There you go. All right. Well, thank you for coming by. Thank you for taking
You're
your
welcome,
time
Tori.
to help us and share with us.
Yeah.
And thank you to everybody who came. And thank you to Kelly for helping as my moderator.
Yeah. Beautiful. No more.
She's
We got
very,
all the questions.
I think we got them all.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to end off now. Do you have anything else you want to say before we end off?
I'm going to go check the Dodger score. That's all.
All right. Okay.
Go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers. All right. Good. Well, good night to you and good night to everybody else.
Yeah.
That's
Same to
it.
you, Tori. Thanks for your
Thank
time
you.
and your company.
You're welcome.